And welcome to Anonymous Bites Back, episode 119. I apologize for the intro. That was user error. That was not a technical problem. That was user error. So if you heard of a bit of a conversation for a second, that's because I was pressing the wrong button. Um, so we're at episode 119. We did have a guest planned for tonight, but I guess they were too busy doing what they were going to do. But I guess today we'll talk about OpQAnon.
I
um,
got some shit to say about that.
yeah, I guess I guess everybody has seen the videos that has come out, and I have seen some misreporting that has been going on from some not major media outlets, but from some minor media outlets. I was surprised that TechCrunch thought that you're at your the biggest non Twitter account that's out there. He thought that he had produced the video, and if you actually look on the link to the description on the video, you can actually see who created the video, and it was a non two world, not at your non news. Um, but John, you there?
No, but it's safe to say because he will allow it. Is that he's one of the editors on that Twitter?
Oh, I
He's
wasn't
actually
aware.
one.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I thought
Oh,
it
he's
was.
the admin. He's the admin. I can tell you, he's the owner of it.
Oh,
And he hijacked that account. He hijacked that account from a good friend of mine years ago, Jackal, who was a great
No,
street
Jackal. Yeah, I
anarchist.
remember that.
He was a great street anarchist, boots on the ground activist, a real fucking soldier with a sense of honor and understood the code. And instead, this faggot, took the account from him and has had it ever since. And not only that, but the dude's got some balls. He goes around bragging and giving me shit and about how he never blocks anybody. But we got into it the other day on Twitter, and he went ahead and blocked me. And the irony of that is he's using an account that I gave him. Back I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago, he got his account taken to him from Twitter. I had a spare account with like 14,000 followers laying around that I wasn't using, and my buddy looked up from his computer and said, "Hey, A2W just got his account taken." And I was like, "Hey, well, give him this one. Yeah, I'm not using it. It's got 14,000 non-followers on it." And so that account that he's on today is an account I gave him. He's a fucking prick, man. Fuck him. That's what I got to say. Fuck him. I just hate disloyalty, man. I hate it when you're friends for years and you give and you give and you're loyal to somebody and you got their back always, and and then they fuck you over, and fuck that shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there have been some fights over that account. Some other journalists were on there. I think Greg House was on there too. Uh, some others were on there. That Dan Stuckey guy from Daily Dot was on there too for a while. I'm not sure who are on that account right now, but I do know that yeah, they released that video against QAnon, and it was pretty much it went viral. And
well, I mean, there's been some doxing going on. I mean, but that's the thing is like the subreddit. Whoa, who's got that serious feedback? I hear like it sounds like. Oh.
Well, I got a tropical storm about ready to hit. I'm gonna go close my window. That might help.
Okay. Um, but yeah, no, there's been some serious doxing on some Reddit followers. That one went on, and I think the first time I saw it was the laser cannon, the LOIC fucking Twitter account. I was the first one to produce that today. Also, there was some funny DDoSing going on. Lulsec or an account claiming to be Lulsec DDoSed an unofficial.
yeah, that was nice. I mean,
It was
they
funny.
deserve it.
Hey, can we clear something up? There is no LulzSec, okay?
Yeah.
Let's be. I knew all of those guys, okay? I knew every single one of them, and
Yeah, I
there
know
was
this
no
is.
mystery member. There was no secret member like one person is claiming he was the secret mystery sixth member of LulzSec. There was no secret member, okay? LulzSec went for 50 days, and then they shut it down, and that's it. That's it. I knew Tope, I knew Mustafa, I knew all of them fucking guys. I even knew Sabu, and So there is no LulzSec. Go to the Wikipedia page.
No, these are
Tell you the
like
whole story of
Yeah,
LulzSec.
these are
clone
copycats. Yeah,
crews.
These are
yeah.
fucking wannabes. These are fucking wannabes who are trying to recreate a legend that wasn't even theirs, that they weren't even a fucking part of. And it really pisses me off. I mean, I'm tired of hearing about LulzSec. There is no LulzSec. LulzSec was always, from the beginning, designed to be a temporary thing. They never intended to become some sort of permanent crew. They were always going to just do it for a short amount of time. They didn't know how long when they started. They hoped they would go longer,
Didn't
but
they
they
have a
went
call
50
line?
days.
They had a call line where you could call in. You could
They sure did.
and you could call whatever website you wanted to DDoS.
Well, you could, for a while too. They were giving away pizzas with stolen credit cards from Stratford. They encouraged Occupy camps to call in on an 800 number, and they would send pizzas to Occupy camps using stolen credit cards. I mean, they were a
I'd
legend. I
really,
mean,
to be
what they
honest,
did
I'd
was
love to see so much more of that, guys. Just to everybody that's listening in
They
general,
all went to
right?
prison though, except for one.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be just the stolen credit cards, right? I mean, I'm just saying in general for the people that are doing these like guerrilla tactics, for people that are collecting up bitcoins and all that. When are start giving it to people that go somewhere and buy 100 pizzas, and we'll organize it to be handed out to people, or food, or whatever it is. But we got to start using, even if you got it less than official means. I don't give a fuck where it comes from, but we have to start like supporting our side of this game. Our opponents are so well funded, and it's not that we don't have money, but we don't use it. I'm not saying you can't go out and buy a Ferrari with whatever game that you're playing, but maybe the second Ferrari, donate to the people. You know what I mean? We could do so much if we just organized a little tiny bit with that kind of tactic. I don't care where the money comes from. Our opponents don't care where the fuck the money comes from. If you think that they don't make money off of illegal shit, you're wrong, right? They make most of their money off of illegal shit.
I haven't heard of a Robinhood hacker in like a good. It's been a minute. It's
In
been like 2 years.
forever.
2 years. It's been
And
about
you'll
two
see
years.
this, like, I know plenty of Anons that did really well off of Bitcoin, right?
well, there
Really,
was
really
lawlessness.
fucking well.
I know, Tyler. I know you remember lawlessness. That was just incredible.
Yeah,
What was it? 2011, $700,000 given away in a few
yeah.
hours
Wasn't
to
that from a
charity.
stolen? That was
Exactly.
from a stolen FBI agent. Like he stole his credit card. Is that or was that the
Yup.
Christmas giveaway?
Not that.
Well, that was the Stratford. They took the Stratford credit cards, and they basically gave away money with them as fast as they could before they were shutting the credit cards down. It was kind of a race because the credit card companies. I mean, so many cards have been stolen from Stratford, so the card companies were racing to shut them down at the same time that WellSec was essentially racing to give the money away, and they were shooting for 1 million, but they managed to give away about 700,000. Most of it was retracted back, like especially the mainstream, like the NGOs. They gave a bunch to Red Cross and shit like that, and that money was recovered. But then a lot of it wasn't. Like I said, they set up an 800 line for occupiers to call in and get pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in Operation Robin Hood, there were more crews involved. I mean, like Team Poison was also hacking Bank of America accounts, and it was kind of like interesting to see all this.
Yeah,
There's
bank
there's
hacking.
been a
Bank
bunch
hacking
of
is an
classic.
art.
There's been a bunch of very classic Robin Hood hacks that I would like to see in the West a bit more of. One of the ones that to me was the most historic, I wrote it up in my book, was the Red Hack one that they did in Turkey. And what Red Hack did was they broke into they have a state monopoly electric company. So all the electricity that's provided in Turkey is provided by one company, which is a state monopoly. And they broke in and they deleted all of the bills, the entire bills, and the backup, and
Yes.
erased. I
Yes.
can't remember the number, but I think it was several $billion worth of debt was erased in the stroke of a pen, and very much resembling, to my mind, very much resembling what the plot line on Mr. Robot. Um, because it was pretty devastating to the Turkish economy. It was devastating to, obviously, to the electric company, but the people, of course, were fucking thrilled. I mean, all of a sudden you wake up one day and maybe you owe $700, several $100 worth of electric, and it's gone. I mean, you owe nothing.
I want to give
They
a
actually
quick.
asked.
I want to give a quick
They asked for
message to
my help
the.
in publicizing that, and it was quite an honor. I was working very close with Maniac, who was the leader of Red Hat. I was working very closely with him at the time, and he asked for help from me to write up an English press release to sort of get the word out to the Western world that hack had taken place. But to me, that's to me classic hacktivism. That's a
One
classic
second,
Robin Hood
one
hack.
second. I wanna give a quick message to the QAnon people. I see a lot of you are retweeting our episode now, and you guys are listening. We're doing. We're also talking about these hacks now and other stuff, but this show lasts like 4 hours, so it'll be about QAnon soon. So
It
just to
always
stay
ends with
tuned.
nuclear Armageddon, so
But
Yeah.
we
like
always get around to that.
I hate to say this, but I'm probably gonna lose my account. But like if you guys follow me on Twitter and you got Pound Mag or Q, and I'm not gonna follow you back. And there's a clear distinction between Anonymous and QAnon. You guys came out of, I don't know, like we're not even close. We're not even like closely related, like in the utter sense. Like you guys come out of like the Kekistan and slash B, but like what the fuck, like we Pound MAGA and all that shit, like what the fuck.
Well, I mean, you always have to be wise of organizations that claim to be on the outside standing for the people that immediately support the establishment. That makes no sense.
Like trust POTUS, trust POTUS.
Yeah, are you serious?
They were
Yeah,
so they were so bad on 4chan that they had to move to 8chan.
Well, I mean, I mean, come on, sit down and think about it. The people that you're supporting, and I mean, it's more than cognitive dissonance. When you're
Yeah.
saying unquestionably trust the tyrannical leader. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious? Like, really?
Follow the plan.
Yeah. Just follow plan, march along.
Yeah.
No. We're part of the revolution. Just march along. Those two things, right, cannot happen at the same time. And
Hey, these guys are so against the deep state, right? I can give these guys something to think about. When we were on 8chan before this Q was even there, the site was de-indexed by Google. It was removed from Google. Now Q is there, and the anons are gone, or at least the activists are gone from that. The Q is there. Now it's suddenly re-indexed by the deep state company Google. So if you're against the deep state, I don't know why Google re-indexed your website,
well,
but
because they're
clearly
saying
they
what
like what
want.
you're saying.
They're saying what you want to hear, right? They're saying what the establishment wants to hear, what the oppressors want to hear, what the people that are censoring us want to hear, and they want to hear follow the leadership without question.
I wouldn't be surprised. Remember I was talking to you about the game, John. I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
part of this is about the game, which is another deep state operation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that comes off of a spinoff of a cult, online
If you
cult.
want my opinion, this is some fucking schmuck who's larping his fucking life away on 8chan and on Twitter and on these other platforms. This is just some fucking dude with too much time on his hands, um, leading people around in circles by the nose and getting probably quite a kick out of it. I mean, obviously there's a thrill of the power of having all that mainstream media talking about you. It smacks of a classic sort of a non thing, only in the sense that there is a thrill. I've done a non-ops. We've all done a non-ops, and when they take off, and you got the media following it and everything, there's a thrill to that. And so he's getting that sort of same thrill, from this. And it doesn't take a lot of intelligence, to do what he's doing. I mean, you follow contemporary events, and also it's a lot like fortune telling. Years ago, when I was a kid, one of the hustles I did, and I was known for my hustles, was fortune telling. And I was actually trained by a professional fortune teller. And I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with the occult. It has nothing to do with, meditating and seeing the future. It has all about to do with reading people and making general sort of predictions that can come true in 80 different million ways. Um, so that no matter what you predict, it's bound to like come true tomorrow, that kind of thing. And it's really that kind of classic technique of misdirection and whatnot. It's just bullshit, and it doesn't even reek of a state operation. I mean, so many people try to say it's the deep state doing this and everything and making it up. If it were so, then these predictions would be a lot more accurate, and the information dumps would be documents. They would be, you know, they would be real data that people can sink their teeth into instead of this sort of vague, mysterious. Well, guess what? Something big is going to happen tomorrow. Well, something big happens every fucking day, you know. And so that's, you know, I mean, where's the fucking meat? That's where I want to know. Where's the fucking beef, you know? And there is none. It's just a bullshit fucking thing. It's somebody getting a thrill out of it. Um, and I think it's been taken too seriously, even by his detractors. Like I said, to make this out to be some sort of big deep state operation, if it were, it would be being done a lot better than it's being done now, and it wouldn't be being operated out of 8chan, for fuck's sake. I mean, if it were a deep state operation, it'd be right on the main line, like, you know, Facebook and Twitter and shit like that. The deep state knows how to operate social media as well as anybody, and it just, the whole thing just reeks to me of a big bullshit operation, if you ask me.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
they're mostly active on
that's my
social
fucking
media.
theory, but
They're mostly active on like these controlled social media, like YouTube and stuff, and they are not removing their accounts, nothing. So I don't know, but
Didn't
I've
you,
always been
you got,
under the impression if you're not being censored, right? If you're not, your stuff's not getting taken down, then you're either a mouthpiece for the organizations or you're doing exactly what they want. If you're not being censored, you're not telling the truth, right? You've got some sort of game. The only people that they're censoring, you know, whether it's a big truth or a small truth, right? The only people that they're censoring are people that are speaking out or people that are telling the truth. So it's always sending up red flags when you have like free reign to say whatever you want, because they don't give anybody free reign to say whatever they
oh
want.
yeah, look at Alex Jones. They took him off the internet pretty much.
Yeah, and look, I am not a fan of Alex Jones' ideology. I think he fucking lost it. But chances are
He's got
there
a
was something in there
that
that
was
was true.
probably. He says
Yeah,
a
look,
lot of
at the
Yeah.
end
crazy
of the
shit.
day, the reason they're taking him down was because of the mass shootings, right? The Sandy Hook shootings and all of that, and him saying that, you know, they were false flags. Look, our country does false flags. It doesn't matter if this specific one was, because most of them, you know, whether it was real or not, the people are actually dead. Those people are actually hurting, right? But our government does false flags. That's not hidden. That's not a
yeah,
lie. That's the absolute truth. Now, is this one a false flag? Man, I couldn't tell you. They're good at it.
The
And the
Vegas
one that,
shooting was definitely a fucking government thing. They ended that investigation with no leads and no nothing.
oh, I
well,
think, you know, look, there's all sorts.
what
I
really
don't get
concerns
into
me
the
about,
specifics because you end up, you know, you'll go on to something and go down a line, and look, it's not true. And the person that's standing there, you know, crying, the person whose family member's been killed, that's all 100% real. Where I get into it is, look, one of these is a false flag. Our government does false flags. You should be outraged about that, right? Like, that is the problem. Not whether this one is a false flag. It might or might not be. Doesn't particularly matter. The problem is our government does false flags, right?
mhm.
That's the actual issue. And he got caught up in, you know what I mean? Oh, there was this blood splatter there, this blood splatter, or a footprint, or some bullshit like that, which doesn't particularly matter. They'll just discredit you with it. The fact is that they will kill people, they will undermine governments, they will murder people, they will make up shows, they will lie to you to get what they want. And that is the truth, right? That is a fact.
I think Alex Jones was taken off the way he was, especially one of the clues is the way all the media companies, all the social media platforms and everything took him off all on the same day. That's a clue right away. All of these media platforms are in the hands of Democratic supporters. I mean, I think especially Jack and Zuckerberg have both made it clear that they're in the and the YouTube owners, all of that. They're all in the hands of the Democrats. And to me, it's all about the midterm elections. Alex Jones, whatever you think of him, one way or the other, is a galvanizer of the ultra right sort of base that is pro Trump and that was trying to to keep their majority in the Senate and the Congress and House of Representatives. The midterm elections are right around the corner, and Alex Jones was a huge voice right along with Fox News in galvanizing that base and keeping them solid and keeping them together and getting them out to the polls. And so to me, it seems really obvious. I mean, to yank him all at once, all in one day like that, just before the midterm elections, tells me it's not necessarily about any of his content. It's about politics.
Yeah, it's beyond
And
suspicious.
Yeah,
and it
I'm
shows and
go ahead.
it shows you also whose pocket these platforms are in. I mean, we already know whose pocket Fox News is in. We know which party they're going for, but now it kind of brings to light, to people to see that there's an opposite to that. There's a that's binary. There's also a dichotomy there where many of these social media platforms and media platforms, independent media platforms, are in the pockets of the Democrats, and so
Well,
and
I mean,
that sort of game just pisses me off. It really does, because if I'm right, and that's why he was taken off, that's just fucking bullshit. And I'm not a fan of Alex Jones either. The dude's a retard. I mean, come on. But
well, and I don't even know
if they take every
if
retard
it's
in the
that
world
deep.
off the internet, there'll be nobody left but us. You know what I mean?
Well,
We'll be broadcasting to nobody. I
to
mean,
be honest,
seriously,
I don't know if he was I mean, if it was specifically a Democratic thing. My personal opinion, he was taken off at the height of his popularity to make a point because of Bohemian Grove. Like he did, he's against the Republicans, but those organizations exist outside of the right left politics, and I think that that's more likely who's punishing him.
I
Yeah,
mean, long before Anonymous was around, he was down there at Bohemian Grove, doing some incredible friggin' journalism. And
Yeah,
that's actually when I first
he
started
jumped
listening
Mitch
to Alex
McConnell.
Jones.
You know what I mean? Out of nowhere,
He
he
was jumping the
jumped Mitch
fence. He was
McConnell out of
jumping the fence and
nowhere.
getting into Bohemian Grove. He was sneaking cameras in there. He was sneaking people in there with hidden cameras and shit. I mean, he was the first one ever to publish a video of the owl ritual, which
Yep.
now is mainstream. Everybody knows about that. And
Yeah, it's all
so
true.
you can say what you want about this guy, but he has done occasionally has done some courageous journalism and revealed some shit that was true and that was important.
And I think,
Like I
look,
said, the
these guys
dude's
are
a
not
buffoon. I
stupid.
mean,
They see that, right? They see the power in that. And there's been several times, I'm not like, this is like we've said it over and over again. I am not an Alex Jones fan, but there's been several times where he steps over that line um, when it has to do with these organizations. And I really do think they saw that as dangerous. When he's on their side, right, and he's marching along, that's fine. But when he's not, all of those followers were probably more loyal to Alex Jones than they were to the actual people he was talking about.
I think I thought he was going to get killed after the Bohemian Grove shit. I mean, I actually became for a minute, I actually became a fan, just because of that one fucking stunt of attacking
Oh yeah,
the
that
Bohemian
was it.
Grove,
I will
revealing the owl
forever.
ritual video. I mean, all of that shit was just
I will.
amazing journalism. I never
I
even
have
heard of
always
Bohemian Grove.
stood by him after that. Not stood by him ideologically wise, but for his ability to talk. Just because of that, and there's been several other. He did an interview with David Duke, the head of the KKK, right? Oh my God, he tears him apart. It's good, and he tears him apart from a very like Republican conservative, side, and it's beautiful. It was a good thing. It's what you wanted to see, and I think a lot of those things have came back to bite him. And something that's bothered me is this isn't their first time out of nowhere trying to discredit him. Remember the whole when he was getting divorced, and he had a relationship with one of the girls that was there that works with him. I think he still has a relationship. They put in a lot of money and a lot of work to try to discredit someone I really don't give a fuck about. But this isn't even the first time that he's been kind of fucked with like that. And look, I don't agree with him, but he has the right to speak. He has the right to free speech. I defend free speech whether I like what you're saying or not. That's the point.
Yeah,
Well,
that's that's the main
the,
point for sure.
the one
It's
thing I
about his
think that
free
needs to be
speech.
the one thing I think that's important to point out about Alex Jones, people who aren't a part of the radio industry, like I've been since the '80s, and don't understand the radio industry, need to understand that yes, he does occasionally do some journalism, but essentially Alex Jones is what's known in the business as a shock jock. Okay, no different really than Howard Stern or half a dozen other famous shock jocks that I could think of, and so primarily his job is to exaggerate and use hyperbole to shock and awe his audience, and he doesn't even have to believe 95% of the shit he's spouting. He's just trying to enrage people and shock them, and that's the job of a shock jock, and it is primarily entertainment. if anybody's ever listened to Howard Stern, you can't honestly believe that that dude is actually conducting his personal life that way. He's not really that person that you see on the fucking radio. Okay, he's a shock jock, and this
Well,
is
and
a
I
job.
think
This is the
during his
entertainment
divorce,
industry.
that's himself said, because a lot of that was exposed, and his wife, or soon to be ex-wife, had came out and said, he's violent and this and that and the other thing, and he came out and said, no, that's just a show, and that's it's just a game, and to some of that I believe it. That's not, I don't see that any
Well,
really
you
any different than any of the corporate media that's out there.
well, you can't
You
have
know,
it
I could
both
They're
remember
all
when
ways.
they
I
took
mean,
Howard
stupids to
Stern.
me.
I remember when
I'll
Howard
tell them
Stern
that.
went to the satellite network. What's the name of it? Sirius Radio. He had to go to Sirius Radio because he got thrown off the ground network he was on, and I can't remember which one it was, but he was on a mainstream ground network. I can't remember whether it was NBC
Yeah, and I
Radio or
think
whatever.
he
But
said something. He said something stupid. I forget what it
yeah,
was,
and they
but
threw him off, and then Sirius Radio, which is a satellite radio network, picked him up because they're not regulated by the FCC, so you can say fuck and shit and piss just like you can on internet radio, and so they picked him up, and he was more famous than ever. And you know what? I predict something like that's going to happen with Alex Jones. You wait and see, because one of the things I've noticed about these satellite radio networks, they could give a rat's ass. And if Alex Jones wants, if he's tuned in and listening tonight, I'll teach him how to do internet radio. And I'll tell you what, you can reach a vast audience with internet radio, just streaming to a straight up shoutcast server. They can't censor you, they can't shut you down. And there's ways somebody will pick him up because he's a shock jock. And you know what? He's good at it because that's why he has the following he has. That's why he has the audience he has, because he's good at it. Even people who hate him love to tune in just to hear how outrageous he's going to
the
be.
stupid
I
shit
mean,
he's gonna say.
you can't help but love the dude because he's so ridiculous, and that's what a shock jock is supposed to do. He is really, to be honest with you, if you look at it from that point of view, if you look at it from the point of view just from a technical industry standard, he's great at what he does. He is a good shock jock. I mean, that's simple as that. He really is. He's great at it. I've been tuning in lately. I have to admit, ever since he got censored, I've been tuning in just to hear him go off. And
I think a lot of
so
people, as soon as you start getting censored, I want to know why.
exactly. Of course you do. Of course you do.
I
What
mean, he
the
says
hell
some
is up with
outrageous
this?
shit. I mean, I was an avid listener for a good 5 years, right? But
But
it,
go and watch corporate
yeah,
media. They
he's
say
not.
some
Yeah,
outrageous
he's not.
shit, and
He's
nobody says anything
he's
about
not that bad. I
nobody.
mean, he's crazy, but he's not like I can watch you off the internet fucking crazy, you know?
Well, it goes on. To me, it goes on to what you consider shocking and what you consider crazy shit. So Alex Jones coming out and foaming at the mouth at some issue, that's shocking, and we should be outraged and take him off. But if you go and lie to the American people and get us into the war in Iraq, kill millions of innocent people, and carpet bomb half the Middle East, right? That's not outrageous. That's just corporate news.
well, you're being a good
Right?
propagandist.
If you want to know
You
what
can, yeah, you can.
what I'm upset about, like those lies, right? I am extremely upset about what Alex Jones says is not even close to not only as shocking but as influential. How many millions of people has Alex Jones gotten killed? How many millions of people have CNN and Fox News and the push to war got killed, right?
Yeah.
And the fight for the drug policy and promoting the racist policies of not only ICE but our prison industrial complex. Like the list goes on and on of the way that these people come out and blatantly lie to the tune of millions of people getting hurt, and that's not shocking, right? That's not
I
crazy.
remember
Alex Jones is the problem.
the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, right? It cost like 2 million people their lives, like civilians. So
Yeah, that's okay.
they've always
That's not shocking. Right. That shouldn't get why look go through and look at social media and all of the people that spoke out. Every single one of those videos needs to be archived and taken down. They're lies. They're lies. You should have strikes for that. When you came out and said that Bernie Sanders has no support and you have no idea who the fuck he is, right? Why are you not pegged for being fake news? You lied. You are lying to the American people.
Well, there's an agenda. It's not. This isn't. It doesn't. There was 15 companies that came after him.
Yeah,
That's
all
not
the
an
same. Yeah, all the
accident.
same. Even
All within a
LinkedIn.
few hours.
Yeah,
Except for
LinkedIn took them off. That was the most bizarre shit I've ever. Like, why would they take off a business listing? You
It
it
know?
has
was
no video
everybody.
content. Yeah, wait.
It was everybody
Oh, they
except
planned
for
this.
Twitter, right?
No, he's on Twitter. That's the only one he's still on for
Yeah,
some
I thought
odd
Twitter was
reason.
the only one that.
Well,
Yeah,
Jack
I don't know.
actually issued a statement and said they're not going to take him off until he violates the terms of service.
Yeah, they spoke
Until
about
somebody
that.
can show a
Well,
concrete violation of the terms of service, they're not going to remove him.
was he Trump? Trump
And
warned him a while back. He was kind of warned to back off. So that's his clue. But the others weren't. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
Facebook.
Well, and
where
I mean,
where
I think
where is
that's
this
pretty
idea
much.
that corporations have more rights than people?
Well, it's
Why is
because
it okay for a corporation to censor you and deny you rights that you'd never put up with a person doing that? But why is it
well,
okay?
Preston,
That's the scrambled up society you live in here.
I
Where
think Preston, I
you
think there's a couple of aspects to this you got to look at. One is this concept of public commons, and this is something that in Anonymous, um, uh, I've been trying to push the idea for a long time. It comes to the internet is all private property. If you want to look at it from a strictly technical, legal point of view, it's not like our real space where we have sidewalks and streets where we can go out and protest or speak or get on a soapbox with a bullhorn and talk to people. There is no public commons on the internet. Everything is private. So we have to make a public commons. We have to redefine parts of the internet as being public commons. And I think that these big monopoly media platforms, social media and regular media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, we have to begin to consider them, to look at them as part of the public commons, which means that their rights are going to be less and our rights are going to be more than if they were just a private business, the way some people want us to see this at. Like I've seen a
well,
lot of tweets this week about how, well, platforms have a right to have anybody they want on their platforms. Well, that's true
that's
if you
not
just look
true.
at it from a technical standpoint.
Nope.
But if you look at it from an idea of where are the public commons on the internet, how are we going to define parts of the internet to be public commons so that we can all have a chance to speak and be on these platforms? The other aspect of it that I want people to look at is these corporations are mega global corporations. There's very little distinction now between them and the government anyway. When you get that big and you're already so intertwined with the empire, there's very little distinction between a big corporation like, say, Facebook or YouTube and the government.
Well, you
And
used
when
to
you get
have
into the
any.
black stuff, when you get into the dark stuff, it's even worse. The stuff we know about, just the way that they're granted, extra permissions and the way that they're granted
Yeah,
tax
well, that's the
exemptions and stuff
problem.
like
Yeah,
that. But
you
if you
don't.
get into the dark stuff, there's even more of a connection directly between the CIA and Facebook and CIA and
Yeah.
Google and stuff like that. So there's no distinction really between these big meg. This isn't mom and pop websites that he was broadcasting on where mom and pop may have a choice to have them or not. These are these large global corporations that I say there's very little distinction between them and the government. And then we also, like I said, we have to look at the idea of the public commons and how we redefine
Well,
that on the internet.
YouTube was supposed to be Creative Commons. What happened?
yeah, I don't
See, the
know.
problem
That
is
happened
the
like that in the
problem
last
is
couple of years.
you live in a country that no longer protects your rights. Somehow everybody got this idea that corporations have more rights or some kind of rights that other people don't, and that's not true. You cannot enter into a contract to limit people's rights. That is against the law. That's what everybody's missing. Just because you're a friggin' corporation doesn't give you any kind of special rights. It does in this America because you're in a post constitutional banana republic, but that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Now, does anyone link this to the end of net neutrality?
Oh,
Um,
definitely. They wouldn't have moved in the way that they did if they didn't have the backing of net neutrality. That was the point. To take
Yeah.
that last little bit of rights. And the deal is, it's the illusion that you don't control your own rights. They have the power to take and give anybody rights that they want. If they don't think that you can, well, they'll change the law, they'll change net neutrality, they'll change whatever they want. And then you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be subservient and just accept the fact that you don't have those rights anymore.
Yeah,
Right? Well, that's just the way corporations. That's the way the corporations operate, right? Corporations have rights now. Well,
they've
why?
tricked
No,
you
not
in,
more than mine.
yeah, they've tricked you into believing that, but that's not true. You cannot. It's just like if you have a retarded person who's 50 IQ, and you make him sign something that makes him your slave. You can't do that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not
Oh
how it
well, and
works.
that's a good example because people use that term. Oh well, we gave you the rights to freedom. No, I was always free, right? I've always been free, right? You stole that from me. You oppressed me. There's a difference, right? You didn't give me shit. I've always been free, right? You were
Yeah.
oppressing me. You took something from me. You didn't give me shit.
So
And that's the
yeah,
same thing. Oh, well, you're opening it up to net neutrality. No, I've always had the right to speak. You were oppressing me.
yeah.
There's a difference.
Just because your terms of service say something doesn't mean it's a legal contract. That's what people are missing. And your
Or under the
courts being the
CFAA law, it's
shit
the
government.
law. Under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, terms of service of the law. If you go into court under a CFAA violation, let's take something simple like DDoS. One of the arguments that they use against you, the prosecutors use against you, is that you were unauthorized to send that many packets to the website. By unauthorized by who? And if
Yeah.
they say by who, then they bring up the terms of service where there's this obscure fucking clause that says you can only refresh the website so many times or whatever, and whatever. And so, in so many cases, we see. Look at Weave. And I hate Weave. I just want to put the caveat that he's a Nazi piece of shit. But his case though was pivotal and important. That he accessed the AT&T website through a public browser, aggregated data, delivered that data to the journalists and to the world, and then they got him for unauthorized because they said in the terms of service you weren't authorized to access those URLs, even though those URLs were public facing, they weren't secure. He didn't use any password or anything to get to them. He didn't. There was no hack involved.
He said it was.
He
He
just
said it was
simply
basic
accessed
common arithmetic. They let him in. That's what he said.
That's it.
Yeah.
He was sent to prison for mathematics.
Yep.
He was sent to prison for mathematics and for accessing public-facing URLs. So now you're to the point where if you're under the age of 18 and you go to access certain like adult websites, you could go to prison for that because it's a violation of their terms of service. Under the CFAA law, the way it's written today, the corporations literally are writing the law. And
Yeah.
people are going to prison for this. They are going to prison based on violating terms of service, which is a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The way the CFAA stands today, any violation of terms of service, every time you get suspended from Twitter for a violation of their terms, technically you are in violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The FBI can kick in
And
your
just
fucking door
like give
and
them
haul you
enough
away.
time. Give them enough time. Let it go for long enough.
Yeah.
Let it
Yeah.
be
Sure. I mean,
placid and let it go for long enough, and you will. You will go to prison for look, and I think it was important to say, oh well, he went to prison for math. Look, guys, this has been something the oppressors have been doing for a while. Right? You can't use the number 1 or we will fucking decapitate you. The number 0 is evil. Right? They have put
Or
lots of
special
people, they put
characters is
people to
not allowed.
prison. Yeah, like there's all sorts of instances where those ones and zeros, right, where math has got people sent to prison. But yeah, we are coming to the term where the violation of a private corporation's website contract, right, is the reason that you've got heavily armed people at your door. And once you're in prison,
Exactly.
it's hard to get back out. They are really good at putting you in. They have no idea how to get you back out. That's not how the system's set
Oh,
up.
under
yeah.
CFAA, it's a 100% conviction rate. Marty Godsfeld is proof of that. 100% conviction rate, and he was ready to have a hung jury. They had one juror that became convinced of the necessity argument, which is that what Marty was doing was necessary to save this girl's life. Okay, had one juror, and she made a mistake, and she made a fatal mistake. And this anybody out there who's listening who's thinking about doing jury nullification in the future, don't tell the fucking judge that you're doing jury nullification because that's what this juror did. She went and said, "Look, I can't convict this guy based on the letter of the law. So they replaced her. They threw her off the jury, took one of the alternative jurors, put it on, and boom, Marty's convicted.
Hey, I
But for
don't
two
think this
days, we
guy
were
is.
very close. I got so excited, I
Uh,
thought Marty was going to get himself a hung jury, and I was ready to pop open a bottle of champagne and celebrate. And sure enough, the juror opened her mouth, and what a shame. And they bounced her, and they convicted him. But
Yeah, 12 Angry
the,
Men doesn't really exist, right? So that's how
that
corrupt our
yeah, it's
system is. Hey,
that's
if somebody on the jury thinks you're innocent, you got to go.
yeah. I mean,
Just
come
get the
on, that's
fuck
not
out of
even a
here.
legitimate reason to switch somebody out on a jury. That's
Like
well, she
here's
opened her mouth, and
in
so
most cases,
yeah.
you should almost, that should give you relief, even if it's something that you don't agree with. Look, this guy is a murderer. I believe he needs to get the fucking chair, right? Every jury should have at least one person that says, I don't know, let me see. Right? That is the minimum for what should go on out of 12 people that, one of them says, well, let me look at the facts. That's really what you want. Right? And now
well,
it's
she
up
was
to the other
straight up going
people.
to
It's up
do
to you to
jury
converse those
nullification
people.
based on the argument of
Yeah.
necessity. Marty was ran his own case. He was essentially his own counsel, and he did the necessity argument, which is that this girl was going to be killed if he didn't step in and intervene against this hospital, which had a long history of abusing children at the Boston Children's Hospital. There are dozens of cases that Marty was able to uncover of child abuse going on at this children's hospital. And so this woman basically agreed with Marty and said, this was a necessary breaking of the law. And the federal government has there have been some amazing necessity arguments that have been won. A bunch of nuns about 10 years ago in Los Angeles, they climbed into a nuclear silo, and they did damage to a nuclear missile that was inside of a silo. And they were dragged into court, and they argued the necessity defense that they were trying to prevent nuclear war. And guess what? They won. They won the case. They were found innocent based on the necessity defense. So this defense really is the only line in the sand that we have against, especially these politically motivated DDoS cases. Um, but the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act has to be reformed. I mean, you can't just have corporations essentially writing the law and deciding who's going to be prosecuted and who's not. It's obscene. It's an obscene
Yeah.
thing.
Well, what they've done, I mean, the big corruption all stems from believing, they instituted this system of what they call case law as if it's the standard, and it's not. They have created case law as the standard, and now you don't argue anymore whether it's a law or not. You are arguing about, some clerical stuff within their case law. Well, that's not a legitimate court. We're
Well, and
not
as
even
time goes
arguing law
on,
anymore. I mean, it's a
and
joke.
as
Yeah.
time goes on, we see more and more the corruption that is our legal system. And you say, okay, well, look, the 1950s were about as corrupt as you could possibly get in race relations. All of the case law that has to do from that time frame is worthless, right? They were corrupt cases, so defending them in today's age as being the standard is ludicrous. Where you've got a jury that is bought, where you've got a system that is corrupt, to come back and say, oh well, I've we've got rulings on this case in my corrupt court. Well, that doesn't fucking matter. We know it's corrupt.
Yeah, there's no way to pop out of this bubble and convince people that, look, the law that you're talking about, like, we have to follow the law. Well, the law you follow doesn't have to be case law. That's not the law. The laws are the actual laws on the books. All the rest of it is garbage. And the trick that is played on you to take your rights, that's what they've instituted. And now you're at this point where a corporation allegedly has more rights, and their terms of service mean that you're a slave, and we could just take your rights away at any moment. I mean, how the fuck did you get there, man? That doesn't even sound right. You know.
Or like Roe v. Wade and all that.
Well, that's separate, but it's what you have are two political parties that represent One would be like a religious altruism, and we tell everybody, authoritarians who tell you what to do based on alleged religion, and the others are the communist. You see the Antifa types who they have concerns, so they just want to take your rights away and censor. So there's two factions, but they believe in the same thing. You as an activist or a person who just wants to speak, well, you have to listen to these two groups of pathology cases tell you that you don't have any rights. One's a leftist and Democratic Party, the other's a right winger and Republican Party, and where they meet and agree is in the middle, where they want you to shut up,
Yeah,
okay?
like
Because
you
they're
can
in
go
charge.
down you can go down the parts of the Constitution that they would like to take out, right? Some of them on the left, some of them on the right. But at the end of the day, they're trying to get rid of your rights that are in the Constitution. So look, they may have done something as simple as split it up. Hey, the Democrats will take two. You guys take 1, 3, and 4, and we'll all stand behind the couple of corporate lines at the bottom, right? That's how they work. Their goal is to take all of your rights that were given to you, right? Your inalienable rights, ones that can't be taken away. They're working as hard as possible to get rid of all of them. They don't want you to speak. They don't want you to, look, is to take. We can argue about policy involved with gun laws, but they don't want you to own a gun. They don't want you to speak out. They don't want you to stand together, right? They don't want you to rally.
Yeah,
They don't want
yeah,
you to use that stuff. And you can
yeah,
go down the list. They just want to get rid of the Constitution. The right and left agree on this.
yeah. It's getting in their way, but they're getting close, though. I mean, they're to the point now where, and more people believe it, that this is just the way it is. That corporations actually have this right to take your rights away.
Yeah, look
I
at
mean,
this right.
where is
Look at
this
this right
scumbag
now.
government? Where are the three branches? Are
Right
you
now
assholes going to protect us from
in
these
Louis,
other, corporate assholes?
not at
Antitrust?
all.
Are you going to do anything for the people?
Not 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 at all. Look, Louisiana right now, Governor John Bell fucking Edwards, right, is allowing private mercenaries to arrest, right, these aren't cops, these aren't people that are police, law enforcement, anything, just oil pipeline workers to beat up, shoot at, and arrest pipeline protesters, right? Water protectors. And the Democratic governor that's in the pocket, the Democratic governor, this guy's supposed to be a Democrat, right? Green power, Bernie Sanders, right? Blah, 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 free healthcare. You don't give a fuck, right? You will let armed people oppress your own citizens in Louisiana for an oil company. Right? They don't care whether it's right or left. He stands with Shell and Exxon and in the right, just like everybody else. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, they've obfuscated their role in government to corporations, so that they can point the finger and go, "Oh well, Facebook did that." No, man. Yeah, Facebook did that. Why aren't you doing something about it?
Yeah,
Where the
exactly.
Okay,
fuck are you guys?
Yeah, so the
guys.
Where's
oil
the
company
government?
Yeah, we have
the
some
oil
chatter.
companies did
We
that,
have
so
some serious.
why aren't you doing anything about it? You're just going to let that fly because you've been bought,
Guys, a
right?
quick
You're
break, please.
Yeah, we have
oh
some serious chatter going on some of the comments on YouTube.
All
Don't
right,
Yeah,
fun.
man. Let them
so
have
we are
it.
getting. Guys, I'm going to ask these questions on air, and I'm going to answer them for them.
All right, let's
So
get in it.
Have we
we got
pissed some people off, have we?
Oh, let's hope so.
guys.
Let's hope so, Tyler.
No,
Yeah.
we are getting questions from Network 23, and that's a hacker crew, and they've been in a pad that was created by No Mafia before about doxing Q members. So Network 23 asks, have you been to the pad we hijacked? And what is your opinion in doxing? So yeah, I visited that pad. I know what you guys agreed on, and I spoke to an word about it too. Uh, we don't agree with doxing these QAnon followers because they're being misguided by this Q guy. Of course, I mean they're not the people to blame for this. I mean these people obviously buy into these stories. So, but they're not the evil we have to attack. So and
I can
yeah.
not only do I concur with you, Mark, but I think it's fucking despicable
Yeah.
and reprehensible to attack. This is not what Anonymous is about.
well, we've
Anonymous
seen
is
some
about
operations gone wrong
Anonymous
where
is
that
about
happened.
Anonymous is about attacking governments and corporations and the 1%. It is not about attacking the people. These are innocent people, and you're attacking them because of their beliefs.
And a
And
lot of them
Anonymous
have been
doesn't attack.
misled. Like all of us have been misled in the past. All of us have jumped onto things that we find out are
Well, I'm
not
sure they
truth
don't
later
feel
on.
that way. I'm sure they don't feel that way. Everybody, the thing about opinions is they're like assholes. Everybody's got one, okay? And so, nobody has the right to sit in judgment of other people because of what they believe, unless, and there are exceptions, unless they believe that, people of a certain ethnicity should be wiped off the face of the earth, like the Nazis, okay? So there you have a legitimate thing. You can, if you want to go after Nazis or known people like that, then you have a legitimate a thing going on. But when you're talking about just everyday innocent people, we don't attack based on race, religion, creed, belief, or sexual orientation, and that's just common sense. It's not even an anonymous rule or anything like that. It's just common fucking sense.
I would
And
just
so
say, look,
to me, that's where the op lost me, right there. And that and the whole involvement of this Sabu 2.0 dude, who Hector swears is not him, but whatever. I mean, just using that fucking name. Who the fuck
Yeah,
is
that's
gonna
that
call
guy who adds
himself
people on
Sabu?
Facebook, right? He was saying like there's a guy who's on Facebook adding people and it's not him. I
yeah,
don't
look,
know.
my
No,
thing
well,
is with
Hector,
all of these is
Hector,
we
Hector
can't
claims
forget.
it's not him. I don't know. Hector's a liar, right? So who the fuck
Guy's
knows, right?
fucked
He's a
up.
piece of
He
shit.
always
He's a
lies. That
piece of shit and a liar. So maybe it is him. But Hector claims it's not him. But either way, just even involving somebody who's going to use that fucking name, and we all know for a fact anyway from previous history that Yan and A2W and all those guys have their nose
Yeah,
stuck right up Hector's ass anyway. They invited him to that big Vice party all those years back. The Yan took over all of Hector's assets in the interest of transparency. They took over all his documents and everything and published them. Just glorifying this cunt instead of fucking shutting him down and ignoring him and rubbing him out from history. Yan embraced Sabu, the real Sabu, and have just it's just bullshit. Okay, the dude belongs face down in a ditch with a piece of lead in his pumpkin. Okay, that's what traitors. That's what traitors should get. Okay, and so all of this, the OpQ thing, I was in favor of for about 10 fucking minutes when they were going to go out and they were going to dox this guy Q. They were going to figure out who he was, shut him down, expose his lies, hijack his hashtag. That's all well and good. I loved it. I loved it. But right up until they started attacking and saying we're going to dox his followers and we're going to, that's just bullshit, man. That's
No,
just
there's some
bullshit. And I
politically
got a ton of,
motivated anons doxing these people, and we're not these people, and we don't allow this doxing anyway. I mean, none of us support the doxing of innocent
yeah,
Q
the doxing
followers. I
of
mean,
innocent people. It's just the deal is, guys, just in any of these things, never forget who your enemies are. And with all of these, with any time you're in a movement, when you're in an op like this, right, you need to make sure you've taken the time to step back and look and think, are these my enemies? Right? Or these people that have been misguided, or these people that are following strength, or these people that are out there like all of us at one point have, that are searching, right? And they ended up at the wrong place. Now, when it comes to taking care of the top part of that equation, then yeah, that's more than acceptable. But never forget who your enemies are, even if there's things that we disagree on. Right? Never forget who your real enemies are, and do you have the time and energy to focus on somebody that's liking someone's post on Facebook, or somebody that's a follower on social media? Right? Is that the
look,
enemy that
the
we need to
world
be
is filled
wasting
with
our
friggin'
time?
idiots, okay? Look at the flat earthers. Are we going to go dox all of them now just because they're stupid?
No, we
No,
no,
you're
we
You know
actually
what I
no, but
mean? I
that's
mean,
we
I
put him
mean,
on
I
the
mean,
show and made fun of him for an
misguided.
hour.
Yeah, no,
you
make fun
really,
of
you
you. That's
really,
that's
if doxing people because of what they believe is wrong, no matter fucking what. And there are obvious exceptions to that. Like I said, if you're a hateful individual calling for a particular ethnicity to be wiped off the face of the earth, well, then you deserve to be doxxed for that. But if you're just an average, everyday person going about your business and you believe in Alex Jones, you listen to him, or you follow this cute character on Twitter, and you think somebody what he says is intelligent, that's just wrong, and that's not anonymous. That's not what anonymous is about. That's not how we're supposed to behave as anons. And I've had a lot. I've got a shit ton of mega followers, And guess what? We get along fine on my timeline. We all debate. We have robust debates. I was just debating anarchy with a very rabid Trump follower the other day, and he actually complimented me. He said, "You know what? I like your tweets. You're a very intelligent person. I like arguing with you. I like debating with you." And my love for Preston for the same reason, because I think what I like about Preston, we're so completely fucking opposite. You know what I mean? But we're nice to each other and we're decent to each other and we can argue our points in a civil, way. And so, it's just bullshit. It's bullshit, and it's dragging the name of Anonymous down in the West. I've had Venezuelan Anons and Ecuadorian Anons come to me this week and go, "What the fuck is going on, dude? What is going on in America?" Because I work with these Latin American Anons on a daily basis, and they're like, "What the fuck are the Western Anons doing? What are the Anons in the U.S. doing? Have they gone crazy?" It's been crazy. Dude, it's just the way it is. And it's why Anonymous is not an effective force anymore in the West. It's why Anonymous has fallen to the depths that it's fallen in the United States of America. And because of this kind of stupidity. I mean, it was an okay op, but was it really necessary? I mean, we have a school bus today in Yemen that was fucking missiled by Saudi Arabia with the help of the United States of America. They fucking missiled a fucking school bus today. That's the kind of shit that Anonymous should be concerning itself with. We have 2 countries in Africa where the internet has been turned off. Okay? What happened to Egypt, guys? Where what we did was we went into countries like that and we turned that shit back on. That's what Anonymous is supposed to be about. Not attacking innocent people because they believe stupid shit.
No,
It's
no,
just,
no.
Yeah, I mean,
if we're ever going to recover in the West, man.
quite a few people and organizations that desperately deserve this. Look, EPT, Energy Transfer Partners, right, that is actively, right, arresting, shooting, and abusing people across the United States, right? Go to the Louisiana Bayou Pipeline, right? Protest that's down there, like, help us the fuck out, right? But no,
Why are we
we've
not
wasted
supporting
all of our
Occupy
time
ICE the way
on
we did
this.
Occupy? Remember how we
Yeah,
supported Occupy? Why are we not supporting Occupy ICE with the same level of commitment that we gave to
well,
the
because
first Occupy? You
Occupy's
know
been
what?
taken over by the
If we were, ICE offices would be shut down across the fucking country right now. If
Look,
Anonymous
I was
came in on the side of
involved
those,
in just about every large Occupy page that was on Facebook, Twitter. Like I was a part of it, if you dig, right? And it has been completely taken over by the neoliberal part of the Democratic Party. No fucking doubt. The Occupy Democrats. Do not trust any of them,
I'm just talking
right?
about
Their
Occupy
leadership.
ICE. If this is an important thing. They're separating children from their kids. They got children in fucking internment camps in military bases now by the thousands. This is a big fucking deal. And this
Yeah, but
ICE
look at the
movement is
difference, right? So
robust and it's
they'll
nation.
if it's to take your rights away, right? They'll have millions of people, right? As much money as you possibly need to march in the street, right? If it does what they want, if it's to take one of your rights away, they'll support it 100%. Can you imagine if all those Democrats that came out and spoke for the for the changes in the Second Amendment after that last shooting started marching on these ICE facilities? You tell me they're going to mow down millions and millions of people behind these? Look, we could walk right in and take those kids out if we wanted to, but they're not going to. We got zero support. They're not really with the people.
But what my point is that Anonymous could be effective in that. Anonymous was very effective in galvanizing Occupy to the point where we basically became indistinguishable between
Yeah,
Anonymous and
agreed.
Occupy, at least for a brief moment in history. And that was a very glorious moment. I was a part of both. I had boots on the ground in Occupy Oakland. I lived in that camp for months at a time. And I was every day right across the street at the Starbucks working on the Anonymous end of it. And Anonymous can be incredibly effective in these street revolutions, but instead they're busy chasing some fucking dude who's probably an 8chan LARPer, and that's cool, whatever. I'm not criticizing the op, but where they lost me is when they decided to start attacking innocent people, threatening to dox them, to harass them, to ruin their lives. That is just, again, it's reprehensible, and it is not the part of Anonymous that I want to be a part of. And bringing this whole Sabu thing into it, man, you might as well just call it Snitch Anonymous then. Fuck that
Okay,
shit.
so we
I
got
don't want
more
any part of
questions.
that.
We got more questions about this from the same people actually. So the first question is: let's say we take an entity responsible for the root of all the censorship. Who would they be? Who is telling these companies how to create their terms of service and policy?
Well, that would be the investment companies for the telecom for these big industries. They have bosses too, so they make the rules. Be the investors.
Yeah, so they write it up however they want. They hand it to our government and they sign it into law. No questions asked. I think you got to give them a little bit
It's
of money here or there, bribe the right people.
it's
But yeah, that's just how it works.
yeah. There's a huge revolving door. I mean, I mean, it's at the root, it's the bankers because they are the
Yep.
underwriters for the
Yes.
parties and the corporations and all of it. So the true direction comes from that level, at least.
Yeah.
So they're
Yes.
calling Facebook and Apple and stuff all in one room and saying like,
OpQAnon
you're,
had it
you're
right.
kicking.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll attack the question from a bit of a different angle. I mean, I'm not, I don't know if we can even get at the individuals that they're talking about. But if what your real question is how to be effective in fighting this censorship, I think that we have a classic example with the Facebook movement, the delete Facebook movement. Mark is going to be on my show on Saturday, and I'm going to delete my Facebook account live on the air.
Yeah,
And we've already had like 25 people
it's
who've
going to
had
be
it,
fun.
and we didn't even call
Yeah.
for it. We didn't even call for it, but we have like 25 people that have signed on to do the same right with me during the show. And we've seen that Facebook has lost billions and billions and billions of dollars in value. Um, I think that the same thing. I think that that's the way to attack the censorship. I'm not sure if we can get to the people who are actually creating the censorship, but I think that we can shut these companies down. We can make them pay for it by simply starting a mass movement. I've got a brilliant idea
It's
for an op that I want to do against Twitter, where I want to start a block list and have everybody add to it all the promoted accounts, all the accounts that get promoted as advertising. We add them to one big block list. We circulate that block list and have everybody subscribe to it. And then all of a sudden, all the promoted accounts are blocked. And that's going to
That's a
kick them
good
in the
idea.
teeth. That's going to cost them. It's going to cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. We're going to launch it this week. I've got some great anons with some really big accounts that are going to back me on it and help me out with it. And we're going to launch that this week as a way to sort of get back at Twitter for a lot of the harassment of Unity for J accounts and stuff like that. Um, I think that I don't know if we can to answer the question that the person asked. I don't know if we can get to the people who are actually causing this, right? At least not right now. But I still think that we can make hold these companies accountable, and we can make them pay. And I think in a lot of cases we can make them reverse their decision. I really think that the outcry over the Alex Jones thing, I think is going to backfire on them. I don't think these companies ever expected that this many people, especially people like ourselves, crypto anarchists and left wingers, were going to come out and say, wait a minute, I hate Alex Jones, but this is fucking wrong. This kind of
uh,
censorship is wrong.
Well, and I
And
think
so I
that's
think that
that's
mass movement is the way, mass movement,
that's the
and
real
not
point
feeling
there.
yeah.
Like the
powerless.
simple.
Not feeling powerless. The thing is, they want you to feel powerless. They want you to feel like there's nothing you can do about this shit. And when they come at us individually, it's true. There's not much we can do. But when we have a golden opportunity with Alex Jones, because we have something now that is big enough that everybody's paying attention to it. And this is where we can step in and get them to change the rules and get them to to be more inclusive of radical and fringe opinions and stuff like that. So I really feel like don't feel like you're powerless, first of all, and you're part. If you're part of Anonymous, then you already have the answer, the solution. It's mass movement. It's mass online movement, and make these companies pay. And there's always a way. If you think about it, you're not the first one, Mark, to say that plan to make the block list of Twitter promoted accounts. That's brilliant. Well, I guess maybe so, but it's kind of common sense. It just came to me one day, and I was like, you know what? I'll bet if we did that, that would really hurt them. That would cost them a lot of money. And so, it's just a matter of
That's
always knowing that there's a way. They have a weakness. These companies are so big that they're like a house of cards. There's always a thread you can pull on that's going to fucking hurt them. And it's so much better to concentrate on shit like that than to concentrate on chasing fucking phantoms like Q across the internet.
it's
Concentrate on that kind of work because it's the work that's the kind of work that's effective. But to answer the question, my answer to the question that was asked is that I don't know who's making all the decisions, but I do know that we can be effective in in both avenging some of this censorship, but also possibly in rolling some of it back. And
Look,
we have to
It's
try.
really
You can't just sit back and say, well, fuck that. I'm just going to let them do this.
oh, definitely
Yeah,
not. But look,
that's a long answer.
the bottom line, as simple as it seems, is the way to undo all of this is simple. It's unity, right? Whether you're right or whether
Exactly.
you're left, everybody deserves free speech. And the
Yeah.
moment that we start standing together on that, and it isn't Alex Jones, it isn't this person, it isn't that person, it isn't that they're racist or they said something that you didn't like to say. That is not the fucking point. And the moment that we decide that we're a united front and that no, you cannot take this person's rights, even if you don't like them, even if they're not good for business, right? And at the bottom, that the the base of everything that's going on, every single one of these issues, the fix to it is unity, is solidarity. When yes, okay, fine, you take that person's Facebook page down, all that everyone is talking about is they take down a video that they don't like, 1,000 more people get on and post it, right? These are the things that are going to help us win, where it doesn't matter if you try to, it's just going to make what's going on. You can't take everyone off of social media where everyone is posting a story, a video, a whatever that you're trying to take off. And that will get us farther than almost anything else. We have a
I
power
think
in social media that we don't realize.
inclusiveness is critical. I like what you said about unity and inclusiveness. One of the things that we've seen the power of this is in the Unity J movement, where we went out of our way to make sure everybody understood you check your politics and your religion and all that bullshit at the door, and we focus on this one thing that we all agree on. And I'm seeing it in the last year, maybe a year and a half, in my timeline. I actually sent out a tweet about it that I'm really proud of all my followers. I now have about 20% of my followers, and I've got thousands, almost 9,000 now followers. About 20% of them are MAGA people. And guess what? Like I said, we get along fine. They love some of the anarchist philosophy because it borderlines on libertarian philosophy. And they love that. And we have these very deep and robust debates. It's not that people don't, in my timeline, aren't vehemently defending their ideals. They are, but they're doing it in a civil way, in a respectful way. Even when we are in a forum like my timeline where we all want to disagree and we want to argue about shit, you can do it in such a way. You don't have to hate people because they don't believe what you believe. You don't have to hate them. It's just, we are all human. We're all trying to do the best we can. We all believe what we believe, and guess what? Every single person believes differently. Every single person. That's what humanity is all about. Is that we're all absolutely unique. Absolutely. Even twins who have exact DNA are completely different people with completely different belief systems and different worldviews. And we have to stop hating each other because we don't believe the same fucking shit. And in Anonymous, that's what has killed Anonymous in the West, is that we have siloed ourselves into these echo chambers where, if you're an anon that believes this, well, you can't come in this chat room, you can't be in this IRC, you got to go over here and be in another IRC, and so it fractures us like the stars on a windshield when it gets hit by a rock. And that's how we've become in the West, and that's why we're not effective as a movement anymore. That's why Anonymous isn't effective. We have to get past ourselves, man, get past our egos. And, it's funny because I'm the one preaching this, and people all the time bitching that I'm such an egotistical fuck. But this is truly and deeply what I believe, and I'm seeing the results from my own followers, my own audience on the radio station. I'm seeing the results of this inclusiveness, of not hating people anymore because of what they believe. Now, if you believe some really rancid shit, there's, like I said, there's limits. You know what I mean? If you believe people should be killed or wiped out or anything like that, then me and you have no common ground. And I believe I should just punch you if I see you. But just because people voted for Trump does not make them fucking evil. And you know
I think it
we
makes them a
So,
gotta
little
get
retarded.
yeah,
well.
since when did somebody's concerns mean that you can take away their rights and free speech? Okay, where does that come from?
Or not even
That's the
work
big
with them,
tie.
Preston, or not even speak to them and work with them. This is why we can't function. This is why we can't we can't form mass movements to get things done that we believe in, like censorship and stuff like that. Because, why can't I just forget about who you voted for? Why does it have to concern me so much that I can't work with you on this project or that project? And
Well, they've
people who
told.
voted for Trump believe that they did the right thing. This is what you have to see: is that you can't call people stupid. You can't denigrate people who honestly, deeply believe that everybody believes they're right, dude. We believe we're right. You believe you're right. You say, well, everybody who voted for Trump is stupid. So you believe you're right, but guess what? They believe they're right too. And until you can step above it, until you can sort of rise above that and look at everybody as just human beings trying to do the best they can, we all want a better world for our kids. Every Trump follower I have, and I have some dear people, I have some wonderful people who are mega followers on my timeline who have supported me. They have sent me money in exile, which, guess what? I have gotten more donations in exile in the last 2 months from mega people than I have from anons. Okay? They are
Wow.
supportive of my right to be in exile, my right to fight the USDOJ on these hideous charges, and my right to political asylum in Mexico. And they are supporting me, and they are putting their money where their mouth is. Where information activists won't give me the time of day, they won't even associate with me, much less send me a donation. So, I can respect everybody who is civil, who is decent, who can hold a conversation without freaking out, fuck out. And I have anons that disagree with me, and they just flip right the fuck out, and all of a sudden it becomes character assassination, and it becomes smears, and it becomes all that bullshit because they can't win an argument with me. Whereas I can deal with a mega person, and sometimes they win and they convince me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what, you got a point. And then sometimes, like last night with a Trump follower in my timeline, I convinced him. And he was like, you know what? I never looked at it that way. You're a pretty smart man. You know what I mean? And so why can't we get past who we voted for, what God we believe in, what party we belong to, and just look at each other as fucking human beings? And I
Well,
think that when we do that, then we can band together and we can change the things in the world that we all agree on. Do you know how many mega followers believe that Tibet should be a free country? Preston, do you believe that Tibet should be free?
Tibet.
Tibet. Do you believe it should be free from Chinese occupation? That it should be a free country? It's a cause that means a lot, and
It's
I have
not
a
just
tough time.
Tibet, by the way. It's other countries in the area too. Nepal.
Palestine too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, that's a cause that means a lot to me, and it's tough to get anybody interested in it. But I can get mega people interested in it. They're like, yeah, I think Tibet should be free. There's something we can agree on, and it doesn't matter who we voted for. We can both work for that. I'm just using that as an example, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well, here's
that's a it's a
where I come from
Go
is
ahead, Preston.
yeah, where I come from is this. Let's use like the Portland and these Antifa and the Proud Boys as an example. Is if the Antifa people are serious, and they are, that they are going to limit your free speech, take away your rights for their concerns and what they believe, then they have broken the constitutional contract with you, and you don't owe them anything. That's why if the Proud Boys go there and kick their ass, go right ahead, because you're not part of the contract anymore. See, the deal is we talk to each other, respect each other rights, or we don't. And if we don't, then I have no contract with you anymore. And I don't have to treat you, I can treat you any way I want, just like you guys. See, that's the way it's supposed to work. It's not I bow to you because you say something. That's what they're missing, and that's why they're getting this. They're going to get a violent response, which I don't really think they saw coming. But like the Proud Boys, getting bigger and all the rest of it, they don't realize what they've started. You clowns coming from that angle is not going to work.
Um,
Okay. To the next question then. Uh, First, we have like a little question in between. I was still about the doxing of the Q followers. That is the same team. It's actually, I'm not even sure if they're still listening because it took so long to answer the questions. But they say Anon to Earth hasn't made a follow-up video despite the agreement to do so after 8 hours. Anyone know why he hadn't made a good on his end?
Well, if you want my opinion, he's a dickhead. I mean, I don't know.
I don't. What was?
A2W was a really good non. 10 years ago in the beginning, and he was a dear friend from a long time. I was loyal to him. I had his back when people went after him, and he won't have your back.
He makes
He
some good
won't
fits.
return. He won't. Well, he does, and so, there's a lot of people that make good fits. You know what I mean? I can turn somebody on right now to an anon that I met in Unity for J that makes the greatest vids I've ever seen. In fact,
Yeah,
he
I
was on
know
your
what you mean.
show, and that's how I
Yeah,
met him. That's how I met him. He was on your show, and he's now working on my documentary
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I'm
He's a,
releasing.
he made the intro for the ABB show too. So yeah,
Yeah, and so there's lots of great videographers out there. A2W has lost his way, and he's all about his power in Yan. It's rightful to say that he holds a great deal of power in the Western Collective because of his control over the Yan account, and he's an egotist who believes he's always right. And if you ever argue with him, he'll go straight to smears and name calling and character assassination. Um, he is just not a good person. And so, if I were you, my suggestion to the questioner is go find another videographer. There's a bunch of them in Anonymous that are great at it, and they'll be a lot more reliable uh, part of your op. And so that would be my suggestion.
yeah. No, these are the guys who were complaining about the doxing of Q people, and they made an agreement with Jan not to. Yeah, not to bring out a message that we are not here to dox these Qs, and he would make a video too, but he didn't make the video yet, and they were like a little grumpy about that, I think. Yeah, well, I didn't have these negative experiences with A2W, so yeah, I can't really comment on that, but it's like your personal experience, so uh, I can't judge that, but. Uh,
Nothing going on, or
Yeah, I
it's a
know,
bad
like
idea. Or,
the main target was like a Q, but there are many anons who are actually doxing the Q followers, and yeah,
In
yeah,
a
that's like
systematic
besides the
way.
point, of
Let's be
course.
clear. This isn't a random thing. They're doing this in a systematic way. They're putting out lists, and
Yeah,
that's
they're
just
doing it.
fucking hateful. That's hateful. That's being a hate group. And anonymous is not a hate group. Okay.
Well, and
And
I
so
really
and
do
so
feel that with a lot of these people that, I mean, you've named off people, we've all named off of those that have lost their way, and the people that are following them. This isn't something that I hold personally against those individuals. Um, Especially when it comes to, I figure that you've been tricked. There's plenty of things, and I think I said this before, in my life that I was tricked into believing, and then later on you find out, oh shit, that totally wasn't true,
Yeah,
right? And it took
so
somebody
prove that.
saying
So
it. So
prove
when
that.
it,
Make the off what it was supposed to be about when it started. Make it about exposing Q, exposing his lies, hijacking his hashtag, and putting out information about him out there will discredit his never
to be
unimportant that
100%
might be.
honest,
It
I'm
may
not
not be
even
the most
telling them.
important thing that Anonymous should be doing, but at least
Yeah,
it's
see,
on
that's where I
track.
get
At
into
least
it. To be completely honest with you, I could really gives a fuck about QAnon, right? Like literally, we are sucking up fucking tear gas at the protest here, and we're arguing about some jackass. I don't dig it. I don't think we have time, right? Like we're
oh, that's
getting
a good
murdered out
point.
here,
They're
and
actually,
and we're focused on whether we're going to DDoS QAnon. Okay, and when you do, then what?
yeah, they are attempting to like dismantle his network. They're the website owners and stuff.
Yeah,
They're doxing them,
get
and
on there and post the most dangerous thing you can. Get on there and post fucking truth. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
let's
no,
focus on some real shit. I guarantee you a lot of those people that are following him are not following them because they understand what's going on, because they see what's going on. They're learning, right? When he says something, it's the first time they're fucking hearing of it.
yeah.
Right? There people are out there looking for information. I really don't.
Yeah, that's why I'm flooding them with and the fat messages. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that a lot of those people will eventually wake up and walk away from it. It's one of those personalities that rises and falls in social media.
yeah,
I guess why I would
I
be for an op QAnon is to get rid of the meme, because I still believe that it's like a Fed psyop, It's misleading a lot of people, and it needs
I
to
do
be
too.
dealt
Nobody,
with.
nobody misleads people like that. That's the deal. They don't even really hide it, right? They come out and say support POTUS. That's it. That's it. That's it. Right? As they're like taking away your rights, as they're pushing through the net neutrality laws, as they're dismantling the EPA, as they're all of those stuff, and like mainstream media is just bitching about where he put his dick when 20 years ago, right? Than actually paying attention to anything that's going on, and you're telling me he's not part of the system, and that's who you're saying support. You're against the deep state, right? But then you're supporting somebody that is obviously in the hands of the bankers. Every other weekend he gives them a new fucking tax break. Like, at what point did you think that any of these organizations that he is buddy with, right, are on your fucking side?
Okay, let's play like a quick advocate for the devil then, because the Mafia Project does say something, and it said to all those who said QAnon is harmless. You know the Holy Fire in California,
Yeah, I
the
heard
one
about
that
that.
killed 8 people and displaced 20,000. Well, the arsonist responsible was just arrested, and guess what? He said he did it for Q as part of the grand plan to destroy liberals.
Oh,
I
okay, so
never
I mean,
said
does that?
harm.
I
I
mean
never
that
said
that
Q was
is
harmless.
something.
I
Yeah,
never
but
said that.
that's not harmless. But what I'm saying is, look, that is the stupidest shit that I've ever heard.
Yeah, of course. But
QAnon's post made me go out and kill 8 people. Posting the rants of a crazy person, right? They all, everyone that shoots somebody up, that goes and murders people on this, always has some fucking stupid ass reason of some cult leader that they're following, right? He doesn't even have to
That's
be
right.
alive.
And
Look,
you can't
Hitler's
use
dead
that
as
as you can't
fuck.
use that as an excuse to go after innocent people who just happen to follow
Yeah,
this guy.
look at all of
You know
the
that that
hate crimes that go
go
on,
after the
church burnings
dude,
and shootings and such,
discredit
and
him,
they all
but don't
quote
go after
Hitler.
innocent people.
Look, they all quote Hitler. Hitler is dead. Every person that goes out and does something like that is going to quote somebody.
well, it's true. There are still people doing stuff for Hitler, like because they hate like other people with other colors and stuff.
Oh yeah, and they fucking love Hitler, right? Why did you do it? For the great fuck, blah, 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 the same bullshit. But look, anybody that does something like that is going to have somebody that that person said it. Look, you didn't do that for QAnon. QAnon didn't tell you to go out and murder those people.
No, that is
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm.
yeah. No, that's a good point. He never said that to do that. So yeah, no, this is what the followers are. What, yeah, there's always going to be some crazy guy tripping out doing this kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, they've all
uh,
got
Well,
a reason why they do it. And like I said, they'll all quote some cult of personality character.
well, and that story itself is a perfect example. See, it's a lie and fake news itself. Q never said that, and this guy allegedly, it says that or whatever, but it's not true. It's just BS. That's a big zero given to you in a allegedly professional journalistic style as an article, but it's not. And see, people can't figure that out nowadays. They don't know the
Look,
difference. It's gotten to a fine line where they can't tell bullshit from the truth
Yeah, and I think it's a
because they don't
real
know how to.
problem. It's
I think if
hard.
Anons want to go after this guy, I think it's fine. It's all for the laws, right? But be professional about it. Be true information activists. Use information to discredit this guy. Find out where he hides. Ferret out all the sources of this Q information. Hijack his hashtag and educate people, educate his followers, and undermine his base that way. That is the true information activist way. That is the true Anon way. So if you want to do this out for the laws, I think there's more important things to be working on, but I'm not the one to judge how you use your resources.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
do it. But don't attack innocent people. Just don't do that. You need to condemn that in every way, shape, and form. You need to ostracize whoever it was who came up with that idea. You need to eliminate from the web the systematic lists of his followers that are being used to harass and ruin people. You need to stop that. You need to bring that to a stop because that's your responsibility. If you started the op, if you're running the op, then you have to own that. Whether you did it or not, whether it was your idea or not, you have to own it and you have to shut it down. Because now these people are your responsibility. You got to protect them and you got to educate them and do what a proper anon should be. So I'm not against the op as long as it's run in a proper fashion. But if you're going to go after innocent people, I'm going to go after you. It's that simple. You can
To
expect
be
me after
fair,
that.
Jan did, UAnon News did bring out that message: no more doxing of Q followers. So I think he did a good job with that. But yeah, no, you're right. I
How
mean,
about
these lists are they.
filling all of the QAnon fucking hashtags with fucking like little cartoon dicks and shit? You know?
Yeah, well, do a meme war. That's great. I mean, it's one big giant meme anyway, so a meme war should be part of the arsenal. I'm not opposed to the op. I just think that it's like so many ops that I've seen in the last few years. It's just being run incredibly poorly and with way too much collateral damage, to be acceptable. And so if it can be tightened up, and if this doxing can be stopped and whatnot, and it can take a proper direction, I'll support it. I think it's all for the lulz, you know. But I,
Yeah,
I would love to see Anonymous spend some of its resources on important stuff. I really think that Anonymous needs to step in and support the ICE occupations.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really important movement to support. And I think there's a lot of other stuff going on. These bombings in Yemen with the United States help. I mean, they shot a missile at a school bus today, for fuck's sake. And why isn't that outraging people? Why isn't these two African nations that have their internet shut off for months now? Why is nobody doing anything about that when we have the tools to turn that back on? Is it because they're black? Because I ran into that before when I did African ops or Op Ferguson, for instance. Whenever it deals with black people, all of a sudden my support just dries up in the West amongst the nons. So
Yeah.
you really have to look in your heart and say, how racist really is Anonymous in the West, and is that part of the problem of Anonymous not being effective? But I don't know. I love to use the example of the Latin American anons. I'm starting to get really close with Anonymous Mexico down here, and they don't even understand American anons at all. They shake their head all the time at the shit that they see, and they're like, because they're so politically effective down here. These Latin American countries, their governments are actually scared of Anonymous down here. They fear Anonymous down here, and they fear them because they're a potent political force, and they're a potent political force because they don't have ridiculous ops first of all, and because they don't have the backstabbing and the snitchery. They don't have any of that bullshit. They are crypto anarchists, boots on the ground, and hacktivists who work together and aren't unbothered by the bullshit, and so they're very effective. And I just think that that Anonymous in the USA and in the West in general could recapture that for themselves if they were to take a lesson from these powerful anonymous cells that are all over the world. The Philippines is probably the most powerful anonymous cell in the world. This is Anonymous Philippines.
yeah,
And does
you're right.
anybody
You're
even
right.
know?
There's so many from
Does
there.
anybody even know the shit that they do? Does anybody even bother to leap the language gap? You see, the problem with Anonymous, and it's a problem with not only Anons in the West, but with the media in the West, is they have these parochial blinders on. It's like Anonymous is dead because it's dead in the USA. And they can't see that because they're not willing, first of all, to even hit the translate button on a tweet to translate a Spanish tweet and see, well, what is this anonymous Venezuela tweet? What does this mean? What are they doing here? What are these photos attached to this? And so, hey, if you take a second and you hit the translate button, guess what? You'll find out what they're doing, and maybe you might support that. Maybe you might be into what they're doing in Venezuela, the Anons there, or in Nicaragua, or in Honduras, where they're literally right now fighting street revolutions in all three of those countries. And Anonymous is all up in the fucking mix of it. All up in the mix of it. But people don't even know and they don't even care because Anonymous is dead. And it's just so parochial. This is a global collective. We made it into a global collective, Mark. You
Yeah,
were
it's
there
this
10 years
Western
ago when you
supremacy.
were
If
there you were there 10 years ago when we decided we were going to make it. And they fought us. The 4chaners fought us on that. They said, no, there's no such thing as anonymous Ecuador. There's no such thing as anonymous Tunisia. That doesn't exist. But guess what? The anons in those countries decided otherwise. And people like me and you, Mark, we decided to support that. And now look, because we push that global perspective, it's truly a global collective now. Half the countries on Earth have organized recognizable anonymous cells, and we have them listed on the website anonymousglobal.org. You can go there and you can see 100 of the nations on Earth. There's a anonymous Djibouti. Does anybody even know? I had to learn how to pronounce that word. Does anybody even know where Djibouti is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, it's a country. It's a country in Africa. It's a country in Africa, and probably it's only like 5 anons there, right? I get that, doing that, but they're there and they're in
Yeah, but they don't know what to
Djibouti and
do
they're
with one
doing
of us.
anonymous. You know, anonymous Kenya. Anonymous Kenya is one of the biggest anon
I
cells in
mean,
the world, man.
I've never been to a country where I haven't met other anons. So, I mean, I don't know
Exactly.
what the numbers are statistically. I don't know what list you guys have or any of that. But I've never been, and that includes Ukraine, that includes across the Middle East, across Africa, across Asia, New Zealand, Australia, Tasmania, and shit. I think there's really only like 100 people in Tasmania, right? So, I have
There's an
never been to
anonymous
a country.
Afghanistan. There's an anonymous
Yep,
Afghanistan.
yep. And that
Afghanis in
was when
coffee
they were
houses in
dropping
Kabul, fucking
bombs and
hacking
telling
away,
us when they were dropping bombs and telling us that no, they're that when our government is telling us that they literally have no operations going on, right? The only reason we were able to expose all of that was because of anonymous Afghanistan.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. They're a great cell. I love them.
us
It's like 5
partly,
guys in
but I
Kabul and
mean,
they're
this is
brave as
something that
fuck.
I don't know if people that haven't been in a situation truly understand, right? What it takes for somebody to go to where they are bombing, right? I mean, the risk that you are taking just to make sure that people get the word out is their lives on the line for us to get just a glimpse, right, of the truth. But I've never been to and that includes like active war zones where there weren't anons involved in the struggle. Places you wouldn't even like really normal. When we were doing Occupy Tehran in Malaysia, right, in Kuala Lumpur, um, members inside of the government kept the police from coming down hard on us, right, from shooting us. And that was from the inside of organizations that you would have never thought would have been involved with Anonymous.
When we attacked the Vatican back in 2000 and I don't know, I think it was 13 or so, when we attacked the Vatican, we had prelates within the Vatican contacting us and saying, look, we support you. As far as, I had one priest tell me he was a Monsignor. I had him tell me, you know what, as far as I'm concerned, I'm an Anon. You know what I mean? I mean, imagine that we're attacking the friggin' Pope, we're attacking the fucking Vatican, okay? And we got prelates within the Vatican saying, we support you. The Anonymous is huge and more powerful than it's ever been. And the only time people even can recognize that and get outside of their little box and outside of their blinders is during the Million Mask March. Well, what do you think? All those people take their masks off and become unanon all of a sudden the day after the march? I mean, how can you participate in the Million Mask March and see 600 cities around the world marching and not realize that this is a global collective, and that if all of these cells are being effective within their own polities, within their own regions, and you're not effective in the USA, then how can you not see that this is a problem that you need to fix? You need to fix that. And what is it that these anons elsewhere are doing differently that we're not in the USA?
Yeah, well, I
And
can
that's
answer that. I mean, they are in a constant war zone. I mean, they are actually in the problems. They have to fight, and we are so spoiled with all this. We're watching movies while they are like fighting for their lives, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
or wanking off in 4chan. Exactly. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Too busy fighting among themselves. Well, that seems to be. I mean,
Well,
I
I'm
see that.
I'm not.
I see that
I'm
in
busy.
every
I'm busy
group.
networking. I'm like this other cat. I like him. I can barely hear him on the other end of the world there, but I like him because he's got that global perspective and he's out there like I am, networking with these people every fucking day. And it's a beautiful thing. You know why? And I'll tell you why. Because I do them a lot of favors all over the world. I have anons coming to me from these cells asking me for this technical favor, or can you do this? Can you retweet that? Can you build me this platform? And I do it. And you know why I do it? Because I'm saving up fucking brownie points. And then when I go and do an op like Ferguson, all of a sudden I got Palestinian hackers hacking the governor of Missouri because some black kid is dead in the streets. And that's the global perspective. And that's the network that you can build for yourself and for your crew and for your part of Anonymous. You can build that network. If you reach out and help these people, the next thing you know, they're there for you when you're doing your op and you need an army. They're there for you. And that's how Anonymous is supposed to work. And the reason that these
John
people
Bell
like
Edwards. Just throwing that
What?
name out there.
Who?
What did he do?
I would owe whoever it was such an amazing favor. John Bell Edwards. Fuck that dude.
I thought it was Creflo Dollar that you hated.
Oh, I hate that motherfucker too. That's completely different. He doesn't. You don't have to waste time on him. He's not even. This show ain't even fucking worth it.
Hey, who's moving? I hear some like massive moving around on a microphone. This is like,
That's Terrence.
Yeah, sorry.
not me. Sitting real still, and the
Sorry,
rainstorm
guys.
finally ended, guys. I'm sorry about that, but I live under a tin roof in a compound, so when it
gotcha.
rains, it's
What? And
finally
you guys
over
have
now,
what?
though.
Four hurricanes coming your way, like back to back.
None of them are going to make landfall, thank God. But we're in I'm in a tropical zone of Mexico where there's a very delineated rainy season. But unlike places like Indonesia, where the rainy season actually takes place during the cold part of the year, the rainy season here is June, July, August, and September. It's very sharply delineated, and it's during the hot season. So basically, the temperature soars during the day, and then every single night it breaks in a thunderstorm. Some of them incredibly apocalyptic. Tonight was a pretty mild one actually, but I didn't want to go off the air, and it's over now. I'm sorry about it, but the compound we live in is very huge. It's awesome. We wanted to have a lot of space because we plan on building a really large safe house where hopefully we can bring other information activists. I think Mark and Tyler are aware of my project here. We call it the Haven Project, where we're trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Yeah.
build something that goes beyond me and my sister, who have both sought political asylum here in Mexico. We want to take that asylum, which is actually getting ready to break now. I'm just entering negotiations with the Mexican government in a very serious way, and we'll have some. I think by fall we'll have some really exciting news about that. But we want to dedicate our lives to helping anons that are still in harm's way in the West and giving them an alternative. To just sitting there in court and getting 10 years like Marty did. Marty was making a run for Cuba. We want to try to build something, not just the compound itself, which we took a long time to select. We had to actually go through a number of safe houses before we found one that we really dig. And this one is perfect. It's just fucking perfect in so many ways, including its obscurity, the city we're in, everything. It just meets all our requirements. But what we'd like to do is build a system. We already have a series of Anons who helped me escape from the USA into Mexico. And the leader of my recovery team, the one who went out, led the team to go out in the desert in a black SUV and fish me out of the high desert once I crossed over. The first thing she said when we got to the hotel in Juarez was, "Wow, can we do that again?" And it was really dangerous. It was really a hairy fucking thing to get me out of the desert. And so my team is very gung ho to rescue more people. So it's not just about the compound, but we have to have a way to get them here, which we do. And then we also want to try to raise some funds so that we can have stuff like a legal team and a medical team. One of the things that me and my sister faced when we got here is we were both very sick, and we didn't have money for doctors. We want to not have that. We want to have that already dealt with before we bring anybody else here so that our ducks in a row. We're working very hard on it, and hopefully we'll get to a point where even somebody like Julian Assange, who, if he gets out of the embassy and maybe things have soured between him and Ecuador, we'd like to be able to bring him here any information activist basically from the West. Susie Dawson, who's in Moscow right now, and maybe not entirely happy about that, but it's the only country that would protect her. We'd like to give her an alternative so that she could come to Mexico and be in this safe house here that we've nicknamed it Haven. So, yeah, storms come through every night basically and beat on our roof, and I just didn't want to not be on the air, so I apologize for it. It's over now. It only happens once a night. And then it becomes quite cool afterwards, which is neat. You get to sleep really well because the temperature plummets once the storm rolls through.
Okay, we got three related to Q related questions. One
Right.
is how do you challenge crazy?
Well, sometimes you can't, man. You can play checkers with a
Yeah.
chicken, but he's just gonna
Yeah.
shit all over the board and start around like he won the game.
Love that one. I gotta remember that one.
They feel called
I would
like.
I would ask a question back. Why do you have to? Why does it fucking matter? You know, the world is filled with
Yeah,
crazy
don't
people.
feed the trolls or
If you're
something.
going to dedicate if you're going to dedicate your life to challenging crazy people, then that's that's fine, I guess, if that's what you want to do with your life. I'm personally more into trying to make the world a better place for our children, and not just for our children, for us right now. I really feel that information activism gives us the opportunity to change the world in real time, not just wait for years and decades, but we can actually effect change right now. And I think that Anonymous has been key in proving that proof of concept. So I would put the question back: why bother? You know, let crazy be crazy, and then just
Yeah, I mean, there's
move
sometimes
on.
when you'll get into this, and look, a lot of times it's sometimes it's bots that just go through and they post crazy shit over and over again. Like you'd think you were having a real conversation. There's sometimes you get down to the bottom of an argument and just you're like, okay, buddy, I'll talk to you later. I'm out.
Yeah, I've seen that. There's many with like 0 followers and stuff too. They're like appearing out of nowhere. Like there's
Yeah.
thousands of these
You know what's the
bots.
most bizarre shit is where I see an account that was created overnight and it already has it already has the verified symbol on it. You know, like they pop
Yeah.
up overnight and they have to verify. Yeah, those are really sketchy to me. You know.
Or you'll just get somebody they've got, the account was created 15 minutes ago and it's got 100,000 followers. Like,
Yeah,
totally.
I've seen
Yeah.
that too.
Oh, that verification check mark is a bunch of shit. You know, my sister, and Mark, I know you know a lot about her. Hopefully, she'll be on the air on your show real soon.
Yeah, I asked her
We
to come
invited her.
on, but yeah, we'll.
She hasn't. She's just still not feeling well. We're really having a hard time with medicine and doctors, but that's a whole other topic. But she's legitimate. She's got all. She's a normal person with like things that I haven't had for a decade, which is like ID and a passport and everything. And she wrote a long letter to Twitter, sent all the proper paperwork in, and they denied her outright, and simply because of her association with me. And it's the same thing that Julian Assange faced, where he sent all his paperwork in to get the little tick mark, and they just arbitrarily deny you. So really, that tick mark is just bullshit. Anybody who's nobody can get it, but if you're somebody and they don't like who you are, they're not going to give it to you no matter how much paperwork you send.
No.
So
Yeah.
she tried.
Your
desperately.
sister is your sister is being targeted hard by establishment.
Well, there was an assassination attempt straight up. I
Yeah.
mean, it just, and what was remarkable about that, Mark, is when I did the Susie Dawson thing where I took her diary of a person of interest and I edited it into a radio quality broadcast for her, and then I had her on the air that week on my show, and her story is so remarkably parallel to Amy Best's story in the sense that she was targeted with, first of all, surveillance, and that's not just electronic surveillance. They would come. It's what I call harassment surveillance, where they would come for weeks at a time and park the black sedans outside the house. Even at one point, parking right in their driveway. Imagine having to go get your groceries and you walk out and there's just an FBI sedan sitting right in your driveway.
Well,
And they
FBI,
just wave at you.
FBI, I'm happy to see. It's Tiger Swan. The private mercenaries are up our ass 24/7.
Well, she wasn't happy to see it, okay? She wasn't happy to see it. But then there was the gaslighting, breaking into her home and leaving messages on her mirror written in soap and shit like that. And then, like Susie said in her diary of a person of interest, when they can't get you that way, when they can't shut you down with the words they have to throw at you, than the straight up the assassination attempt. And the attempts were exactly the same, Mark. It's incredible. Where they tried to run her off a cliff with an automobile, and they used a dazzler. They used a laser dazzler, which is
Yeah.
exactly what they did to my sister. They used a laser dazzler, and they ran her off the road. Her car flipped 3 times. Her back was broken. She now has a 15-inch titanium rod that holds her spine together. Her leg was crushed, literally crushed like powder, and they managed to save it. But she can barely walk at this point. It was broken in like, I don't know, like 32 fucking places or something like that, from her ankle to her hip, just literally crushed, because they ran her off the road. And this is exactly the kind of attempt that Susie Dawson faced with an automobile and a laser dazzler. And that's how now in Susie's case, they weren't successful in running her off the road. In my sister's case, she succumbed to it, and was grievously injured. She will carry those disabilities, that injury from that attempt on her life, forever. And this is how much they hate you. And the only reason they went after her was to try to affect me. The only reason they went after her is because she's my sister. No other reason.
Yeah, yeah.
No other reason. And this is how in America people do not understand how far this deep state has gone. This is no joke anymore. They are killing people simply for what they believe, or in the case of my sister, simply because they're related to somebody who believes something, who speaks about something.
Yeah,
And
and Susie is
so
also facing these hacks. I mean, her devices are being hacked, and Unity 4J is being attacked constantly too. I mean,
the
it's
radio
like,
station is being hacked and attacked.
yeah, like everyone is being attacked. I mean, it's not just like, yeah, their devices are being hacked, their sites are being DDoS. I mean, they're
You
being
know, I
doxxed
predict
too.
I predict that when my sister's story finally gets out, I'm going to tell a little bit of it in my book that's coming up November 5th. I'm going to drop it November 5th, and there'll be a little bit about her story, the basic outline of it. But I really feel that when her story really begins to get traction, and people get to hear it, like on your show and on other shows and whatnot, she's going to be more famous than me. I mean, because she's way more heroic than me. I never faced that. They never tried to kill me. You know what I mean? I mean, I never faced anything like that. They never gaslighted me. They surveilled me for a little bit in Santa Cruz, and then I just took off and went to Canada, and that was the end of it. So I never faced what she faced, and I never had to be the kind of hero that she had to be. And what I think is really incredible about my sister, and what I want people to really understand is that, that was all done to her because of Anonymous, because of me and my association with Anonymous, and she still loves Anonymous. In fact, she loves Anonymous probably more than I do. There are masks hanging all over this compound, and they were masks that she brought from Maine when she fled the country. She brought masks with her. She wears Anonymous clothing. She literally loves it as part of Anonymous is that it's a subculture. You can't get around that definition of it. It's a subculture, and she has so fully embraced that subculture. She truly loves, deeply loves Anonymous and what it stands for. And to me, that's amazing because most people, if they had their life, ruined because of Anonymous the way she has, would hate it. That would be the natural kind of reaction. And yet she has just embraced it all the more. It's just made her stronger in her belief in in the collective. And to me, that's true heroism. That's like I said. I think when the facts are known, she's going to be more famous, and people will look at her as far more heroic than anything I ever did. I mean, she's my hero. I mean,
Well, give
straight
her a
hands
quick
down.
shout out to her Twitter. Then, how can people follow her on Twitter?
Her handle is at Amy Beth
Oh
Doyon.
wow,
No, the
we just
last
got
part is
tons of
Doyon. So it's Amy Beth Doyon, Doyon. And you can find her also just by if anybody who follows me already, um, I retweet her a lot, so she's in my timeline, easy to find. And I'm going to build her a website. Eventually, she's going to start blogging. She's just really needs to gain. Part of it is her health, but also I think she needs to gain more confidence. She's new to this whole being really public thing, and I don't think she's necessarily against it, but she makes her nervous, the whole public, thing. But she understands the importance of being public and getting her story out there. So she's going to face her sort of phobia of that. And She's going to be on your show real soon, Mark. We're just trying to stabilize her health. It's really, really hard. It's been so hard for us here in Mexico because when she was in the U.S. for all these disabilities, she got a lot of money from the government for that. When she fled the country, all of that got shut off. So she has no insurance. We have no nothing, which is one of the reasons we've been fundraising so hard. People think that we're down here and asking for money and we're just snorting lines of coke and partying it up. We're not. We're struggling to meet, first of all, the incredible medical needs that my sister has because of these disabilities. I mean, she's on a regimen of prescription drugs that keep her from having seizures because of the spinal damage and the brain damage that was done to her in the accident. And this regimen of drugs is incredibly expensive if you have to buy them without insurance. Um, so we're just trying to work through those different issues and problems to basically just try to
Have you
keep her
tried
alive. I mean, there's times when
instead of a regimen of anti-seizure medicine? Have you tried high dose of Knodell? It's pretty cheap.
we do, and we have access to marijuana down here,
Yeah,
and that helps a lot. That helps a
yeah,
huge
it
amount.
does.
It really actually it makes it so that she still has to take her medication, but she can take less of it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And she feels a lot better. But even that costs money, right? And I mean, there are times when we have to choose. Do we buy food for our dog, her dog that she brought with her? Now it's our dog, but do we buy food for ourselves or do we buy medicine for her? And those are the kind of choices that we face every week. So I just want to say that we have been doing a lot of fundraising online, but that's the kind of challenges that we're facing, and that's what we use the money for moving forward because we really want to establish ourselves here, stabilize her, so that we can move forward with this idea of Haven not just being for us, but for being for other information activists. It breaks our heart that we left behind so many good anons and good information activists in harm's way. And we feel that if there were an alternative to just getting locked up in American justice system, that maybe more people would choose exile. And it's a courageous choice to leave your family and your country behind probably forever. But we'd like to at least give people that choice because we had it. We had that choice. We had anons that were willing to help us get here. We didn't get here on our own. We got here with the help of a half a dozen very brave and courageous anons who helped us form the network that got us here. And we would like to give back by maintaining that network and by enhancing it so that information activists could have that choice. What we're doing down here. I feel is really noble, and I hope that people will see it that way, and we could get maybe more support because it's been a real difficult struggle. And I think maybe my story, a lot of people know it already, and so okay, that's kind of cool that she did this cool thing. But her story is off the charts compared to mine. And I think that if people realize what she has suffered and what she has sacrificed, and the fact that she's still willing to put herself back out on Front Street, cane in hand, back brace on her back, and willing to go out and still try to help other Anons and still try to make a difference and still try to be active within the collective, I think if people could hear her story, they'd realize um, how worthy she is and we are of people's support out there. Because it's been hard and we need help. I mean, it's great that people, pat us on the back and give us moral support, but moral support doesn't put medicine in her or food in our
that's true.
bellies. And this is still a world that's run on money. And, when I see people, and I'm not going to name any names, but when I see people doing these little projects out there and collecting, $15,000, $20,000 in a week
Oh,
in the
Jesus.
anonymous collective, okay, and we can't
Do you
even
know what I
raise
would be able
a
to
couple
do
of
with
$100 a month.
15,000
We
a
can't even raise a
week?
couple of $100 a month for prescription drugs for a woman who has literally sacrificed her life for the cause of anonymous. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to us. So I guess I'll use my 10 minutes on the show to just plug that. And if people out there are moved by that, and want to hear Amy's best story, want us to survive long enough to get her on the air, um, think about maybe kicking us, some change and helping us out because I think what we're doing down here is really important as well. It's not to denigrate anybody else's project, but I just feel like what we're doing down here is really important. And we could use a bit more support financially than we're getting. And there are plenty of ways to donate. We have cryptocurrency ways on several different cryptocurrencies that we can accept and convert into cash down here. We have, the fundraiser page. We have PayPal. We have all sorts of ways to help us out, and so it would be great if people could maybe do that because it's been a real struggle. I mean, we've had some people helping us out, but we could use more. To be honest, we could just use more financial
Too
support.
bad you can't get like an Amazon listing. That would be kind of cool. For
Well,
your
we've
book.
done everything. We even opened up a swag store where you can buy free CommanderX T-shirts and shit like that, and it's kind of cool swag. It's pretty good looking swag. So, I mean, we've tried to open up every avenue we can to give people every sort of. There's my books, because I'm self-published. All the profits from the books come to me, and are used for us for our survival. And so you could always buy one of my books and learn about the story that brought me to this place here in Mexico. It's a very interesting story. I think a lot of people have said that they're pretty good books. So, maybe buy a book. I mean, even if you buy an ebook, it's only 2 clamps. Imagine that, $2 for an ebook. Um, Very professionally done, and I make a buck off of it. So that helps. Every literally we're to the point where at the end of the month, especially at the end of the month, we're literally every dollar. And down here, a dollar turns into a lot of pesos. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised how much groceries you can buy with just a single fucking dollar down here. So, money's even more valuable down here for us and more useful for us than anywhere else. So, I don't know. I don't want to spend the whole show plugging myself, but we could really use the help. If somebody wants to reach out to me on Twitter or even through Mark or anybody, everybody on the show knows how to get you back to me. So, if you want to get up with me after the show, we could use some help. We'll get her on though, Mark. First, we got to have you on next week. I'm still excited about having you on my show Saturday, man. We should plug
Yeah,
that. That's going to be a great show. We're going to delete my
and next week
Facebook
is going
account
to
in no
be
time.
awesome too. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
don't
got
have the guest
Sandra
confirmed
coming
yet,
on.
so let's not mention anything yet
Oh,
because we don't
I'm
have.
sorry. I leaked it. I won't say it then. Yeah, I just leaked it by accident. I didn't know it wasn't confirmed. But yes, this guest is very exciting. She's very,
All of our
very
guests are
dynamic.
awesome.
And I'm not a guest anymore. I work here. I made that clear when I joined. I don't want to be a guest. I want to be a part of the team. Roll up
Hey,
my
we
sleeves and
got
do some good
Denise in,
shit.
by the way. Denise, can you hear us? Denise is in the chat, but she's muted.
she's in.
Might be self-muted.
Yeah, she's in.
She's in the call, but
Yeah.
She might be self-muted.
Nah, because like sometimes she told me like at her work she gets good internet, but at home, like because of where she lives, it's not so good. So she might be there.
Hey guys, I still haven't gotten used to this 4 hour long show format. I'm gonna go pee and grab a coffee. I'll be right back.
okay.
Cause I type her name in now, but her device might be on the call.
We still have the main question open about QAnon, like how do we find Q?
IP loggers. I don't. I'm just playing.
He's not going to click anything. I mean, we're not sure if it's
Fish
even
them,
the same
fishing.
person.
Yeah,
Dude,
fishing.
you're gonna have to infiltrate their inner organization and expose them from the inside. I am not gonna hold your hand on this stuff.
Yeah, it was not a question from me. I mean,
What do you mean? How do you find
You
out?
mean
Ask
creating
some
fake
questions.
Facebook
Yeah, come
websites and
on.
posting them on 8chan?
I'm not going to expose my. I'm not going to expose our tactics on air. Sorry.
Yeah.
Post your email. I'll send you our hack tools. Turn off your virus scanner when you do it.
I know Trump is using like Gmail accounts, right? His Twitter is connected to Gmail, so.
I mean, SC Toolkit literally has like everything you'd ever fucking. You don't need those fancy programs like fucking like Catfish and shit, but just saying. But I don't know. I mean, you know what's kind of weird is that like when you said like Q, like we were talking about this earlier. Like the weird esoteric symbolism that was and involved with just Q. It's a little bizarre.
No, you mean that book? The book
Well, yeah,
Q.
you remember I told you. I'm not going to name the online cult, but they're much bigger than QAnon, and
Oh yeah.
they're so big that you don't even know about them. Most people don't even know they exist, but they're huge. And when I got to know some of these people and that other thing, it was very esoteric, and I have a weird feeling that that might even apply on that side.
It
Yeah,
was being said. It was being said that Q
especially
was
when it
actually
comes
created.
to class, to like class, to the hierarchy of the things, like the to keeping things the way that they work, and then how that connects to the the pyramid shape and all of that. There's a lot there. I'd urge people to just go look it up. But keeping the status quo always has to do with that letter Q.
It also has to do with communicating with each other, and they use these esoteric or religious symbolism to make things known to each other, because they all understand this esoteric knowledge and they all understand this history, so they can adapt to this game when they get into that subject. So they can understand the messages he brings out. If he brings out a message and he uses like certain wordings which are part of this esoteric history, these others will understand exactly what he means with that. Like it can all be like a pre-listed plan.
Remember the game? The game. I'm not going to say which game, but their game. They had the same thing going on all over the internet, and this has been going on. Their game has been going on the internet since like the creation of the internet. So like it wouldn't surprise me if like even this was involved in it in some weird unrelated some weird tangent.
Yeah, if it is like a government op or like a psyop thing, surely they will have like a notebook, and they will have like meanings. Like if it says like pyramid, it means this and this.
Yeah.
So they will can refer to their notebook what these meanings are, and they will know exactly what the communication is. So that is how they work, and they actually got this. Yeah, they use these histories, this history thing, and they use esoteric knowledge for sure, but not always because they believe in this esoteric knowledge, but for a communication purposes. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that I was talking to me. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to reveal the name of that group. It's too dangerous.
Well, you could already say what they were blamed at first for creating Q. I mean, yeah.
They were, but they're honestly like you don't want to get on that group's bad side. Like, you'll never see it coming.
No.
They will literally wipe you off the internet and disappear your bank account.
Fun.
Yeah.
But that can work, guys. We didn't mention you, so you can feel free to do it in the opposite. Like, how come it's always stick and we never get any carrot? You know what I'm saying? Feel free to pad some of our bank accounts for our good work to be used for our good works around the world. I won't stop you.
Now we're all like poor as fuck anyway. So. Yeah.
I'll still be poor as fuck. Like, they know what I'm going to use it for. You know what I'm saying? Invest in the, check you guys know what I watch online anyway. Check in the solar company that they buy the stuff from. Invest in that company. Give me the money. I'll buy a bunch of it. We walk away with a bunch of cash. Come on.
I think we got through all the
out of respect. You know what I mean?
Well, from what I'm seeing, like you don't want to mess with these people. They have programs that are constantly scanning the internet and compiling it into database. Like it's if they want you gone, you're gone.
Yeah, King Kong ain't got shit.
Yeah.
Enough that we get on here and talk about some real mean motor scooter.
Yeah.
Everybody be cool. Just be cool. But yeah, I'm serious. You know, you guys can always do it in the other way. Like, I know they're listening, so I don't understand why you can't help a brother out.
Oh, you know, we did have something come up that was kind of big, you know, unrelated to Q, but yeah, Julian Assange got a letter from the United States Senate. Yeah, Commander, you know about that one, right?
I do, and I'll tell you what. I have a theory on that. I think it's pretty transparent to me. I mean, I kind of I think like Preston, I'm kind of very interested in American civics and politics and how it works. And I think to me this is obvious. I really do believe that Donald Trump would like to pardon Julian. And I know that you know, Tyler, that we've been working hard in unity for Jay to, excuse me, to pressure him to do that. And I think that a lot of people have said that that would be tough for him to do unilaterally, because obviously the Democrats would howl and rage and say he's just doing that to pay them back, to pay him back for the leaks. I think this is being done for two reasons. I think it's being done to give the president political cover to pardon him, because obviously that's the only way he can be brought back to America is with a pardon and a full grant of immunity. There's no other way. Those are the only two pieces of paper. But that's the only two pieces of paper that could allow him to come back to America and do that. So I think that's kind of obvious. I think it gives Trump the political cover to do that. And I think also it's obvious, and I think Preston would agree with me, that Julian's testimony would be more beneficial to Julian. Um, Julian's testimony would be more beneficial to Trump than it would be detrimental. Let's just put it that way. Um, as would my own, and I've offered to go back and testify to Congress myself in exchange for a pardon and immunity. And I think that I would have some things that would be the truth, and that therefore would just happen to be useful to Trump in
Well, and not,
debunking this whole
like, it's
Russian
not.
gate thing.
Yeah, and to be honest, in today's like general news, he put in a program to to add a little bit some jobs programs to our system, which I don't, in and of itself, I don't see as being a particularly bad idea. Like, we do need, what I mean, education and all of that. I'd like to undermine more of that system, but in itself isn't what I mean, isn't bad. I've got no like beef with that, and it didn't get any coverage. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really talked about today. It wasn't like when he gets on and says something stupid, it's on every news station possible, and I didn't see anything particularly wrong with that today. I just thought it was real interesting that, I'm not saying that the guy deserves a fucking cookie for it. I'm just saying, it's not particularly bad news. I don't understand. He came out and said it. It was in a big press conference. Like, why didn't you cover that? We need more jobs
Yeah,
programs.
I'm 54 years old. I have lived through, I don't even know, I can't even count how many presidential administrations. I lived through Richard Nixon, okay? And, I was a teenager and I was already very politically aware and tuned into the world and current events around me. I grew up very intelligent. I was encouraged as a child to engage my world and to be aware of, stuff that maybe other kids, weren't aware of because they were busy out, doing shit that I really couldn't do because I was always this skinny little, geek who was never invited to the stickball games or any of that other shit. So I was at home working on ham radio and computers and being a part of, watching the news and with my parents and shit like that. And I lived through the Nixon regime, and this shit is always the same shit. I mean, you go through these cycles with these presidents, and to me, the cycle I see is just who's better at covering up the bullshit. You know what I mean? I mean, Trump just kind of wears his shit out on his sleeve and doesn't give a fuck. And then you got some slickster like Obama who really was just as bad, at least on the things I care about, like droning and wars and shit like that. That's the shit that matters to me. You know what I mean? And so, to me, they're all just kind of the fucking same. And Obama was just slicker at covering it up. He was suave. He was charismatic, and so people loved him. No offense to Trump or anybody who believes in him, but your guy isn't really all that suave. He really
No,
isn't all
that's
that
not his. That's not
charismatic.
his game,
You know,
though. That's not his game, though. That's not
exactly,
what.
exactly. I get that, and that's fine. I'm just saying. So you go through these cycles where really the only thing that changes is the personality. The policy is always the same because it doesn't even seem to be driven by whoever's sitting in the big chair. And that's
Nah.
where the whole deep state thing really for me has concreteness because if it's not the dude in the chair driving the policy, then who the fuck is? That's what you got to ask yourself. And so this idea of a deep state, this idea of a permanent bureaucracy that sort of drives the policy no matter who we elect, that to me has a reality because I see it like I said, as a 54-year-old man, I see it, on a much bigger window than maybe young people who have only experienced two, maybe three administrations. Um,
Well,
you know,
even
I
going through. I
I
mean,
watched
going
Gerald
through
Ford.
the
I watched
American
Gerald Ford become
presidency.
president, and nobody ever voted for him. Does anybody realize that President Gerald Ford was not even elected to office?
Well, that was a part of the
Agnew,
progression.
Agnew, who was Richard Nixon's vice president, who was elected to office, was impeached for tax evasion,
Yeah.
and Nixon appointed Ford to be interim vice president, and then Nixon resigned. So Ford ended up becoming a president who literally didn't even have to stand for election, and he sat in a big chair. That's how little it matters that you can be in the big chair and not even have a single vote cast for you.
Well, and
You
look,
know what I
all of
mean?
these guys, look, Trump is a douche, but all of these guys are horrible human beings, right? Name a president, right? And I guess you could throw Lincoln out there if you're really stretching it, Carter there if you're
Sure.
really stretching it. But name one of these guys that isn't at minimum war crimes, at most a genocidal slave owning maniac. And look, their pictures are on the wall too. Obama's on the same wall as Jackson. Now Trump, I guess, went through and removed a bunch of stuff that he didn't like. Man, I would have jumped up and down and pissed all over that fucking Jackson photo. Are you kidding me? Right? But there's, you know what I mean? There's, oh my God, I would have wrecked that thing. I don't give a fuck. Burn it, right? I'm not having, you know what I mean? I'm not having a picture of Hitler on my wall. Are you out of your mind? Right? But that's, you know what I mean? It's from a long line of horrible, horrible human beings that, yeah, on the outside, the policies change. On the inside, they really don't. They all support the same people. They all support the same industries, right? They're all on the same, they're all on the same page. Um,
Well,
Well, it's the
Obama
military
and
industrial complex, the military surveillance complex that Barrett Brown did a lot to reveal, and also Julian Assange. These, that's a big part of it. The alphabet soup agencies, which I really feel, for me, the deep state, the sort of pinnacle, the eye of the pyramid of the deep state is the NSA, CIA, and FBI. Um, and these again, these are career bureaucrats who don't stand for election, and yet they hold such enormous power that I mean, look at the power that the FBI has to be able to harass a sitting president the way Trump has been harassed by the FBI. Um,
well, we
I
go
really
down the
feel
list
like
of organizations that I mean, we're arguing about ICE, but that immediately brings the next question. Well, wait a minute, why do we need any of these organizations? Okay,
well, because ICE. Oh,
FBI's done right, where they were after some activist or whatever that you're proud of. How about the CIA? What operation of the CIA can you stand back after we've had them for what, 80 years now? And when you step back and look at them, which operation of the CIA can you look at and you're like, you know what? I'm glad they did that. We needed them.
They're always the creepy. Remember, they spent like $1 billion on telekinesis.
Yeah, yeah. I
well,
mean, it's a
when you
long
get
line.
into the CIA, when you get into the CIA, you get into Julian Assange's whole argument, and it's actually been my argument for some time. It's just Julian's more famous than me and being able to put it forward finally. But for a long time in crypto anarchy, there's been the argument that the whole intelligence game is a self-perpetuating game.
It
Um,
is. It
yep.
is.
this game generates the wars that we're fighting. It doesn't stop them. It doesn't protect Americans. It doesn't protect the world. This game is a self-perpetuating game of intrigue and collaboration and backstabbing, and it's just this massive game of chess. I mean, what's that movie? I can't remember that movie where they've got a series of these movies out about the CIA. They were based on the Tom Clancy novels. Tom Clancy's actually been pretty good at exposing how, this whole intelligence thing is just this sort of self-perpetuating game, and it would be okay if that's all it was. If they were just out spying on, spies spying on other spies and making little dirty deals and everything. If that's all it was, then I'd say, well, just let them keep playing it then. But the thing is that these games then spin outwards. They have a momentum that spins outwards to generate fucking wars and to generate
Oh
all the
yeah, from
chaos that we see
Afghanistan to
in our whole
from
world. Yeah.
Afghanistan to Iran. I mean,
Yes.
this is real. That we can Iran this around that, but that is our fault. They're democratically elected, relatively liberal government. We underline to put in an authoritarian regime. We did that same thing across South America, and then
And
we
then
look
why
back at
people?
places like
Why the?
Venezuela and are oh this is what I mean. But that is our
And
fault.
then
That's
the
the
reason
CIA.
that
That's what they were doing.
the reason the libtards come along and they hate Russia so much is because Russia is the one, and this is what I love about Russia. They are the one nation on earth that stands up and says, "Okay, fine, but when you play the game against us, we're gonna play it against you. You gonna fuck with our elections, and we have fucked with every Russian election since the Iron Curtain came down.
Oh yeah, we put
Don't even fool
100,000
yourself, okay? Okay,
people
and,
on
and
the
so and so then
ground.
Russia comes along and says, you know what? Okay, you're gonna fuck with our elections. We're gonna fuck with your elections. You're gonna do propaganda on us. We're gonna do propaganda on you. You put up Voice of Russia, Voice of America on our borders. We're gonna put up Voice of Russia on your borders. You know what I mean? And so, for the first time ever, you have a country as equally as powerful as the USA willing to stand up and say, you know what? Tit for tat, motherfucker. Every time you put the game on us, we're going to put the game on you. And so that's, I mean, finally, what I love about the whole Russia thing really is to expose the utter hypocrisy of the American government in all of this shit. And, you know, to me, that's actually the silver lining, the whole damn Russian
Well,
fucking bullshit.
the guys who were really the worst at the Russian collusion, who were, Mueller, for instance, who gave Russian samples that he personally gave them on a airport tarmac somewhere. I mean, the guys who were really into
That is my
uranium one and all
favorite
the rest of
fucking
it.
story.
Yeah, you got the criminal running the show now. Really, you're the friggin' criminal. That's the part that's not getting exposed. It's like, why does
Well,
this
the
guy
whole
get free
FBI,
reign
the whole
to,
U.S. the whole U.S. Justice Department is a fucking mafia. As far as I'm concerned, all the U.S. prosecutors, the U.S. Justice Department, and the FBI, it's all one big fucking thing, and they're all just a fucking mafia. And that, yes, in a way, it's personal. They've been chasing me for 8 fucking years over stupid shit, but it's just, I mean, the evidence is there. I mean, these are the people who wrote Martin Luther King a letter saying to kill yourself because
And
we
then
got
killed
dirt
him.
on you. You know what I mean? I mean,
And then killed him.
it's like how do you get away with that and even still be an agency? How do they not just immediately
well,
dissolve an agency
Remember
that's
during the
caught
during the
doing that?
here's how.
JFK
Yeah.
administration, they were just exposing politicians with them sleeping on their wives and getting bribe money. You know.
Well, even then, what people didn't see, just like they don't see now, is that your government really wasn't what they were telling you they are. Even then, all this crap was still going on, more or less the same as it is now, and nobody was in an accountability or taking care of it then either.
Yes, but now
That's
we
what I
have shit
see.
like Edward Snowden and WikiLeaks. You see, this is a big problem for them. Information activism is the game changer.
Yeah,
And
that
I
changes.
will
He's
always
like,
be a big believer in this. This is a movement that is changing the world the way no other has. I have been an activist for 35 years, and in that 35 years, I've always been looking to find the movement that I could be the most effective in. Where can I protest? Where can I put my energy? Where I can change the world the most? And this is why I'm so devoted to Anonymous. This is why I'm so devoted to WikiLeaks and information activism, because finally, we found something that really kicks them in the teeth. I don't know if we'll win because of it, but I know we're fucking kicking them in the teeth with it. And how beautiful is it? How passive is it? You want to talk about Gandhiism? We're talking about moving ones and zeros around. Something so ephemeral that it's nothing but symbols. and we're moving them around on this thing called this internet, this magical thing that when I was 25 years old, couldn't even have dreamed would fucking exist. And we're moving this information around, and we're kicking these fucking bastards in the teeth. And this is huge, folks. This is gigantic. And if you can't get on board with that and feel powerful as an information activist, then you're just not doing the math, man. You're just not doing the math. And anybody can be a part of this. That's the beauty of information activism is it takes everybody, it takes millions of fucking people moving that information around. Even if all you're doing is sitting there and retweeting fucking WikiLeaks leaks and retweeting Snowden leaks and shit like that, you're making a difference. You're propagating that information and making it so it's never going to disappear. And that information is making a difference because now people can finally have a proper debate about whether or not this kind of shit should be going on in the government. And that debate is the beginning of change because I don't know whether we can vote them out or not. That's debatable. But if we can, if you accept that you can make change by voting or by knowing shit, then you've got to know the shit. You've got to understand how it works first. And
Yeah.
now we're finally to the point where we're seeing proof. And for years, the crypto anarchists were called tinfoil hatters because the hackers knew the hackers were getting look-see-peek-see into their systems. We were breaking into their systems and seeing the shit they were doing, but we couldn't prove it. We had no way to propagate that information to the world. Now with the internet, all of a sudden, that information gets propagated, to the whole world, and the whole world can see their dirty fucking laundry. And I really think it's a game changer, guys. I really do. I think for the first time, and it's why people like Julian, myself, and everybody are on the run from these big empires because they know the power that we hold. I've had judges sit there and tell me in a courtroom that I had too much power, that I had a responsibility to not do anything because I had the power of like almost like God because I'm a hacker. And that I shouldn't be doing this shit, that I shouldn't be allowed to do this shit, that I shouldn't be allowed to just do whatever I want, that I had to obey the law. And so they know the power that the hackers hold and that the information activists hold. So this is to me why I'm such a huge believer. That's why I'm on this show tonight. That's why I believe in all of it, because this show is a part of information activism. This show is a component of the movement.
Dead air.
Is this the part of the night where we start talking about nuclear Armageddon?
It's see, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
He's ready. He's ready. He's got his finger on the button. He says, "Here come the mushroom."
Oh, what
clouds,
else did I?
folks.
What else did I talk about? I wanted to bring up today. Oh, the Stephen Paddock case. The police officially closed the failed Black Op operation. You know, they had no motive. 60 people were killed. They still don't know the motive. There's still a missing hard drive from Stephen Paddock case. Stephen Paddock had a hard drive hooked up to a computer that was hooked up to, I believe the initial reports that were hooked up to a CCTV camera that were monitoring the doors from a wire, but apparently the hard drive is missing. It's a I don't know if it's not a Manchurian Candidate. It's something fucking. It's something on the Black Ops shit. Something went wrong.
Oh no, I think everything went right on that one. They did exactly what they wanted because it was a satanic blood sacrifice. You can't misread these people
Well,
and just
he
how
does.
evil they are.
Stephen Paddock had connections to the military-industrial complex, like not recently, but in his past jobs he did. So
Well, there were supposed to be 3 gals that were there at the same time. That part did squeak out. The whole thing's dirty. You got videos of these cops just standing in the hall for 5 minutes while people are getting mowed down with auto fire. I mean, give me a break, man. Everything was wrong about that.
yeah, there were definitely. Remember, we proved with the forensic acoustic analysis that there were 2 shooters. There have always been 2 shooters. Yeah, it
At
wasn't.
least, yeah,
Yeah,
there was at least three.
yeah. The forensic acoustic analysis proves there was more than one shooter, and it's not like some conspiracy, you know.
Well, they shut down. That crooked sheriff out there shut down the press conferences. What, about a week or so afterwards? There was just too many questions, and he wasn't slick enough to come up with the right answers, so they just canceled it, and he never heard shit after that.
Well, because the FBI and they're the people that that are telling them what to do are telling them to shut the fuck up, you know.
Well, I mean, a lot of these, and they'll say, well, once it's an FBI, we can't talk about an ongoing investigation. Well, I mean, why not? Why can't we know what's going on? But they'll use that as, oh well, they're looking into it, so we can't. Nothing's happening. We
But
just got to keep quiet until they come out and
yeah,
tell us that there's no information, and then
yeah,
that's it. That's what the FBI said.
There never has been any
except
information because they knew what was going on the whole time.
Well, and look, I mean, to be honest, you have to be able to trust what the FBI says. Look at the FBI agents that are listening to our conversations now. We have to.
those
Oh,
poor
you know they tune
bastards.
we
in every
have to.
week to this
We
show.
have to. We have to
You know they do.
trust. Yeah, like we have to trust everything that they say. That makes sense, right?
Uh,
That sounds totally legit.
yeah, I'm just baffled. Even if it were possible that Stephen Paddock had a laptop without a hard drive inside of it, okay, Stephen Paddock was like what, like an alcoholic. Was an alcoholic ex-accountant for some big in military industrial complex that just that was a compulsive gambler. You're telling me that somebody who had almost zero knowledge of the internals of a computer managed to take it out or even better operated the computer off of a USB thumb drive and was smart enough to do it? It's bullshit. It's
I think
absolutely
he had some
fuck.
like
It's
crazy porno.
Wow, hey,
absolutely
hey,
fucking
no, no,
bullshit. Yeah,
no, well, mega bullshit. But yeah, because he's also the same guy. While he was doing that, he was operating 2 to 3 machine guns and keeping them fed at the same time.
yeah.
Okay, he was that badass, dude, man. I mean, let's face it, a Navy
Sounds
SEAL
like
couldn't
fucking
pull that
Rambo to
shit
me, man.
off. Yeah, I mean, come
Sounds
on,
like
man.
Rambo to me.
I'm really supposed to buy that story?
You know what also is weird that I've been hearing, reports is not you're not hearing a lot of it on the mainstream news, but I'm hearing it on the AM broadcasts because I do listen to like old school AM news where it's not always as filtered. And the embassies are getting these weird reports of people being sonic. They're calling them sonic attacks, where they're getting exposed to like noises and pulses,
Yeah.
and they're causing
Yeah.
brain damage. And like I'm like, I didn't even know we had that fucking technology. You know?
Oh yeah,
I
and
got
like
hit
Yeah.
with
this is
one.
something that we
I got
were.
hit with one. The
This is
only
something
police
that we
department
were.
in the United States of America to ever deploy a sonic cannon, and they're actually mounted on the LRADs, which are the
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
but these
laser
are
already had
happening.
a
These are
the
happening in
laser
happening at
dazzlers.
Standing
embassies.
Rock.
These are
But
happening in
in
embassies.
Occupy Oakland one time, and I just want to share my own experience from getting hit by one of these weapons, and this was an audible one. So imagine if
Yeah.
you got hit by a sonic cannon
That's
that was more
inaudible.
finely tuned. That was a little bit more finely tuned and whatnot. I got hit by one in an alley uh, during Occupy Oakland. They hit us first with the laser dazzler. That was very disorienting. It was amazingly confusing. I was completely blinded, even though I made every effort to turn away and to not look. It reflects off so many different surfaces, those laser beams, that they'll hit you no matter what you do, and so you're completely blinded. So there I am standing in the alley. I'm completely blinded, and then they hit one of the first uses ever in America back in 2010 of the sonic cannon, and they hit us with that, and I immediately within a half a second, I dropped to my knees and emptied my stomach. I vomited. And I was just literally just paralyzed by this sound. And what kills me is that's supposed to make you disperse. But I was completely unable to disperse. I couldn't even fucking move. I was literally dropped to the ground and almost rendered unconscious by getting hit by these sonic pulse weapon.
Well, they
So
turned
I can easily see where if it was fine tuned and made into the inaudible frequencies, where they can study, they can find out which frequency gives you headaches, which frequency causes deafness, which frequency causes delusions, even.
Which ones
You
will
don't
make
need.
you, which ones at low level it'll just make you, like, they can get,
Well, they're
they've got
causing.
it
They're saying that
so
these ones cause brain
it causes
damage.
stomach problems.
The ones
Well,
that
no, like,
Yeah.
they can get it to do
I
all
vomited.
sorts
I
of shit.
vomited.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so like
vomited.
Yeah.
at a
You weren't
real low
you were
level. See
yeah,
what
you were
I
hit.
they
He was hit with the higher power one. The lower power one would have just, annoyed you. You were hit with something more powerful, so it actually made you sick. If they turned up a
they
little bit
Right,
more, they
right.
just straight up kill you.
they were
They
using a
can
I
they
sonic
can do
really
weapon.
felt
that.
They were using a
Preston, honest to
sonic
God, I
on a
thought I was going to die. I really did. I mean, I thought I had been hit by something that was, I mean, because we had never even heard of sound cannons. This was the first deployment ever in the United States of America of a sound cannon was at Occupy Oakland. And nobody had ever even fucking heard of these things. And then all of a sudden they unleashed this fucking thing. And honest to God, the sound itself made you nauseous. I just can't describe it, but it was like I was turned inside out. That's how I felt, and the pain from head to toe. It wasn't just my ears or my head. It was literally I felt pain from head to toe, like I had been struck by lightning. That's how it felt. And with the bright dazzler lights around me as well, and they're pulsing too. They're pulsing at a frequency that's designed to be very disoriented and whatnot. And because they're laser beams, like I said, and they're reflecting off in mud puddles, metal, everything. They're reflecting off in everything. There's just no way to escape this. And like I said, it's definitely not a dispersal weapon because I was not the only one that was just rendered, just inoperative. I mean, just dropped to the ground. You can't disperse. You're just almost rendered unconscious by it. I became very fearful of the LRADs after that. It was quite a deterrent for me because when I saw them coming after that, I fled. I mean, there was no standing my ground when I saw the MRAPs with the LRADs on top coming down towards you. Um, and I wasn't the only one that became very fearful of those trucks, man, with those LRADs on it. It's a motherfucker. I'm telling you, it's warfare. I mean, and
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
and then what we did was
they were
then
using
what we did
sonic
is we
weapons on
started
us
fighting
at
back. We
Standing
started
Rock.
using
I'll
green lasers
post a
against them.
picture here.
So
Well, that was that we managed to get around the night surveillance planes, and yeah, that's what people were doing, was getting out the laser pointers and everybody pointing their laser pointer at the plane when it went by, or the
green
drone when it went
lasers.
by.
If you're gonna use the laser dazzler in the field on the streets, I recommend green. It's been proven fact that the green is the most disorienting. We managed to convince them that the time when the protesters took Anonymous's advice to the most heart was in Turkey. You can see some fantastic pictures if you use Google Images of the protesters during Turkey during the Turkey protests, the Gezi Park protests, just painting helicopters until they were just glowing green. You can have 100 activists on the ground hitting one chopper and just literally painting the entire thing green, and they would have to leave. They would have to fly away. But I also think that I would like to study a little more whether or not we can make some handheld versions of these sound cannons, because definitely the combination of the two, the laser dazzler with the combination of the sound cannon was really the final component. That was what really incapacitated you. So I'd like to see if we could find a way to create handheld. It's always been sort of a dream of mine to figure out a way to create handheld sound cannons on the same frequencies that those pigs are using against us, and hit them back with that shit because it's very directed. One of the things about the LRAD that's amazing, it's a laser. It's a sound laser because the operator can stand right behind the emitter and he's not affected. He doesn't even need headphones. He doesn't even need earplugs. He can stand right behind it. And he doesn't even hear it. So
Yeah,
it's
if
an
we can make
amazingly
it to the
directive
truck,
weapon.
so like the front of the close the gap between you and the mercenaries that were in front of the truck, if you could get close enough to them, then you would get out of the LRAD, the sonic weapon.
Yes.
And it was
Yeah.
really just like fighting through it for that second to close the gap. And as soon as you were in that gap where you were in the cops' faces, they couldn't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Or and
Exactly
it was like
Well, yeah,
just
you're.
as soon as you cross that invisible barrier, it was immediately like off. And
You
fuck,
didn't even
man, the
hear it. You didn't
adrenaline.
even hear it. If
No,
you broke through
nothing,
the police line, you
nothing.
didn't even hear it.
Well,
If you got behind the
yeah,
trucks, you didn't even know they were doing anything because you
Yeah,
couldn't hear it.
yeah. Then you're
but I
forced
imagine
to
because
flip the truck
everybody
over.
had this like low level. Well, I mean, okay. There's a couple of things you were talking about making a handheld version. On the opposite scale, if we use a sensor the exact opposite wavelength, would we be able to counteract it? And
Yes,
a lot of it
exactly.
had to do.
We
A
thought
lot
about
of it.
that. We did.
A lot of it just had to do with being able to get enough power. To the sound devices that we needed. But getting around them is just a matter of time. Like these are not smart people. But at a low level, what they would do would park this on top of the hill, behind where our camp was, and it would just over enough time. It's not enough to give you headaches or but enough time, and it would make you sick. It would fuck up your stomach. The people that were old and real young were affected by it, I would say, quicker than anybody else. But what I think that they were doing was testing it out and seeing how it affected a large group of people,
Yeah,
which is
and they
what
tested
our
it in
government
Israel.
does.
When we finally researched this weapon after they deployed it in Oakland, we quickly the next day, of course, got busy doing some research and discovered that they had been using this fucking thing on Palestinians for months. Palestine was the first place where they actually rolled it out against the civilian population, and you could see the Palestinians just dropping in waves from getting hit by this thing. Uh, this is a weapon of war, which all of it is. I mean, how is it that in America, I still can't figure out how is it in America they can use CS tear gas against you when that is a banned weapon of war? That is a weapon of mass destruction banned under the Geneva Convention.
A chemical weapon.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
can't use it.
yeah.
You can't use it in warfare, but you can use it against a
But you can
civilian
use it against
population, unarmed,
your
standing in
own
their own fucking
population.
streets. How,
Yeah.
how the fuck does that
Against
even work, man?
Well, you got to
well, if
How the
nobody
fuck
you
does
does
got
that
to
anything
even
about it.
work?
no. You got to keep
At the
master
same
in
time that we were
place.
bombing us, at the same time that we were bombing Assad for chemical weapons, right? We're using chemical weapons against our own people.
Yeah.
I've never gotten all the way back to the 80s when I started in the streets during the apartheid movement. I have never understood that how they can take a weapon that is banned under the rules of war to use in warfare, and they can use it against the civilian population. I will never understand the logic of that. I just
Well, there is no logic. Well, what you would call it? See, it's not a democracy; it's a hypocrisy. Then everything makes sense, doesn't it? You do what we say, not what we do. You see how it works? Then,
yeah, I
yeah,
guess I
yeah.
don't know
That's
how
the.
it
Look,
works,
they
but it
need.
seems
Look,
to me
I
that
mean, I don't think it's hidden. They
It's a
need an
hypocrisy.
easy way to oppress large groups of people.
I mean,
I mean,
Your
they
owners, your
they
owners are
killed
going to
people in
stay in
Bahrain
power.
with CS tear gas. We counted 33 deaths. There's a great movie that I actually had a small, very tiny, small hand in helping to produce, but we helped the Bahraini activists put out a movie called Clouds of Death. And I encourage people to go on YouTube and look that video up. But it's
while it's
amazing. I mean,
still on there.
they were walking down the street shooting tear gas canisters made in America and shooting them into people's apartments.
Oh, deliberately shooting us
Just
in the face with them. I mean, they do some really
yep,
evil shit with those.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, because it's all. It's just. Well, it's like the Constitution. See, it's just a piece of their rules of engagement. All that. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't actually. When that guy gets out there, he just does whatever the hell he wants. That's just a piece
well,
of
right.
paper.
How does the police department have the right to declare an illegal assembly? Where the fuck does that? Where is that in the Constitution? Where is it that says, well, you have the right to assemble, except unless the chief of police says that you don't? It doesn't say that. You know what I mean? So what the fuck even is an illegal assembly? Where the fuck does that authority even come from? Where do they derive the right to just say to a 500 or 1,000 people in a park in Oakland and say, look, we just declared you illegal. Get the fuck out. Go home.
Oh, they like
Or we're going to
declaring people
gas you.
illegal.
We're going to shoot
That's
you
their
with.
thing.
We're going to
Yeah.
shoot you. We're going to gas you. Get the fuck out. Where does that? I just don't understand where any of this comes from. I've never
Yeah, you
understood
have
it as a
rights to it. You
protest
have
in the
rights
streets
to a
of America.
trial and to assemble and all of that. Unless I want to put an oil pipeline through your backyard, right?
Yeah.
And then, well, look, if you don't like it, I'll shoot you in the face. I'll literally shoot you in the fucking face.
There's really two different realities going on. It's the one you've been taught that you thought was going on, and then there's the real world that you see now that you're an activist. And those two worlds aren't the same world anymore.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
something
and
going on.
unfortunately for me, I was exposed when I was 18 years old. When Ronald Reagan went on stage and supported the clerk regime, and I hit the streets, and that was it for me. I mean, I began losing all faith in the system immediately, and so I've literally been a rebel with no fucking, without any fucking compulsion whatsoever, except to fucking fight these cocksuckers since I was 18. I mean, at this point, it's like this has been my whole life, literally my whole life, devoted to just being so fucking angry.
what we do.
I mean, I'm just
Oh,
so fucking angry at that it's just so fucking phony.
yeah, there's well, the plan doesn't really include you. You've always been told that you have this government and that you pass laws and you do all these things or you petition. They gave you all these things about how the government's supposed to work. But you know that just like being censored, when they decide they don't like you anymore, they get rid of you. And that ain't anywhere in that set of laws and all that other shit that they told you how things worked. There's really, there's at least two different things going on here, you know. And the main show is the agenda, the people that run things all the time. It's their game. The people have to be told that they led to believe that they have rights in a government so that they stay quiet and don't get upset while these other people who really own everything continue to run everything. That's where it comes from. They're in charge, you're not.
For a minute.
They have money, you don't.
Yeah, I think we're moving
I
in the
think the tide is
other
definitely turning
direction.
on that.
I mean, it's been
I
slowly.
think
I
the
mean,
tide is turning.
this has been a slow process for sure. And I mean, it's not just our generation. We just, for one reason or another, we have tools that our forefathers did not have. But look, this has been
Yeah.
a fight since since the building of the pyramids, right? The ultimate pyramid scheme. Whether it's the building of the pyramids, whether it's the building of the church, whether it's the building of the castles and great monarchies of the world. At the end of the day, it was all completely useless. I'm sure the peasants of the world thought that they were getting the trickle down effect as well, right? If we just send just a couple more crops to the king, it'll trickle down, right? We'll all be rich. But it's been a long battle, right? Humanity has been fighting this oppression since we started. When the first guy came out of his hut and told me God said you need to give me all your shit, we should have said no.
I believe it started with Hammurabi. I really think that the first nation state, it's all about the nation states, man. As an anarchist, I'm really a big believer that that's the ultimate fucking idea that we're fighting. And it begins with Hammurabi putting his stupid fucking code of laws on the pillar. And where is the pillar? The pillar is down on the ground where all the peasants live. It's not up in the capital. It doesn't apply to him. He knows that. And it was the only purpose of that was to create a situation where the politicians and the warriors and the priests were like gods and everybody else. And that's why that pillar with Hammurabi's code was down in the fucking square. Okay,
Well,
it wasn't up in the palace.
as long as we were willing to believe it, they told us that that they were gods. And then after we quit believing that, right? Then they said, "Well, I'm not actually a god. That's crazy. But God put me here." Right? I just talked to
Exactly.
him. Right? And
Yeah.
now
Divine
we've
right.
gotten to the, now God's that feeling. Right? I have a feeling, where some of them will tell you, look, the klepto dollars of the world, they just talked to God and he said, "You need to give me all your money." right? But at
And
the
they
end of the
do.
day, as long
And
as
they
we
do.
believe the game, right, they'll always tell us. Like I said, when we were willing to believe that they were gods, they told us that they were gods, right? Then when we
Yeah.
didn't believe that anymore, we went to the next step. God just told me, he's not walking around. That's stupid. That's lunacy, right? But God put me here. Is why you need to give it to me. Then we're blessed by God, right? That's the reason that we're here. We're always the elite are always special, right? They're always the reason they're in the party isn't because they're just another monkey with a whole shitload of money and connections, right? It's that they're special, influenced by God somehow, and that's totally not true. You're
Well,
corrupt is why you're here. If there
no,
is a
no.
God, he has nothing to do with you. In fact, I feel the
Hey,
devil's
I
in
have
you.
an interesting
It's
piece of news, guys, that just came through my Twitter feed that's applicable to our conversation. So let me share it real quick. It appears that the Portland Police Department has just announced that they are suspending the use of concussion grenades because of the multiple injuries, serious injuries, when the cops attacked the anti-fascist protesters this past weekend. So
Nice work.
a little piece of good news. Portland PD has suspended the use of those weapons because of the injuries. It's kind
Well,
of
and that
interesting that we
northwest
were
part
just
of the
talking
the
about that.
northwest part of the U.S. has really, when it comes to a lot of these issues, has gotten their shit together. I know, like the outrage of how the homeless were treated have really changed how Washington and Oregon handle their homeless problems. Police shootings, like it really seems like they're at least giving it a go, and I like this. Like I like to see that. Like we've had this conversation on here before. I think we're winning. It's just not happening as fast as I would like. I like to do it tomorrow. We don't have to wait. But I do think that we're winning.
liberals are winning, really.
Not liberals, but a change in mindset. Even to think about that. Most people on the left are even are conscious at least of the neoliberal problem. Right, most people on the left are at least conscious that Hillary's a piece of shit. Now, there's the bots that are out there, and the I don't know what the fuck you'd call them now. The people that are asleep because they want to be. But even on that, that's slowly falling apart. For one reason or another. I think the right's going to happen the same way. At the end of the day, there are a lot of people that are into Trump, but as time goes on, they will learn that he's just as much of a piece of shit as Obama was, as Clinton was, as the Bushes were. They all end up exposing themselves and lose support, which is why we have these crazy swings from back and forth. But I think we're coming to a point where the times are changing. They've been changing from the beginning, but the times are changing. We are winning slowly but surely, one piece at a time.
Well, you still have two parties that tell you that give you the two people to choose from. So
Yeah,
But
I'm
is
not
that
real.
going to be? But that's the case.
Yeah.
Let's say I would never run for office. I'd like to make that completely and utterly clear. But let's say I run for president in 2020, right? And I've got no support from everybody, only YouTube. And then you've got 1 million followers, right? And then you've got 2 million followers. And then you got 100 million followers. And you come out and say, "Look, I want you to have your guns, and I think the world should be the country should have health care." Right? Well, now you're not in the party system at all. You will be elected president regardless of who they run. And
well, I think
eventually
you've
we're
got a
going to
point.
get to
I,
the
I, I
point.
think
Uh,
I think soon. I don't know if we'll see it in the next election or the one after
It's
that, but I
coming up
think you've got a
close.
point. I think we're going to see an internet candidate that's going to win. Um,
And
I
then
well,
don't
you're
that
know
gonna.
who or
undoes
how
that
that's going to
undoes
come
that
No.
down,
whole
but
game.
it is possible. It is possible. The cult of personality on the
Well,
internet, the ability of things to go viral on the internet, it really supersedes. And I think that's why they're so afraid of it. That's why they're so afraid of the internet.
Well, and look,
Um,
Trump's power
is
is in
because is
social
well,
because you
media.
could have a situation like that.
At this moment,
well.
Trump's
Look.
power is in social media. He tweets anything, and it's
Yeah, what's
worldwide
what's
fucking
up?
news.
What's
Love it or
up?
hate it.
What's up with his fucking 2-word tweets now, dude? Like, it's bizarre.
I think
Well,
he's having a couple of. I think he's having a couple of real bad days.
being shadow
Well, he's
banned.
probably popping. He's probably popping the Xanax too. I imagine they got him seriously tranquilized at this point. Yeah. I mean, if they didn't, he just fucking his head would explode. So I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't be the first president to be popping the pills. I mean, from Kennedy on up, we had presidents that were known to be pretty heavy pill poppers, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he's you know medicated.
Yeah, I
He
mean, he
looks a
gets
little
up.
glassy. He looks a little glassy-eyed at some of those rallies too, so I'm pretty sure. You know, we know he doesn't drink, and I believe him when he says he doesn't drink. And he's known to be a teetotaler, but I believe he be popping the fucking tranks, man. Probably Xanax is what it looks like to me. But
Yeah, like I don't,
kill
I
him.
don't. Um,
Well, there was
I don't
30
like. I
years
don't
ago
envy.
when
I
he
don't
was a
envy.
playboy running around for sure. Then
Yeah,
Yeah, she was definitely popping benzos. That's how
yeah.
she
I mean,
died.
I just think that really this is a complete and utter clusterfuck. I don't know why he really has to be any more messed up than he already was.
Oh, I think they just medicate him to keep him chill so that he doesn't blow the fucking world to hell in a temper tantrum. You know what I mean?
Or just take and so it's taking a little bit of a holiday. So I think take a couple of these over the weekend. Try to relax. I said that that would probably be within reason if I was his doctor. I think calm down. But the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, calm down, calm down. What
Here,
about my
here, take
wall?
these, Mister.
Calm down.
Here, take a couple of these, Mr. President. You'll feel better.
And maybe
Let,
that's
let,
why we're
let,
getting these
let me
posts now. Is he gets
let
some
me
of
take
those.
this phone away for a minute. Give you a couple pills. You'll be all good.
He takes a couple of those and he goes from crucifying this person to that person to what we need. Space Force.
2-word tweet.
Oh my god, that was actually in one of my things to talk about tonight. Space Force. It's real. It's a
Oh yeah,
reality.
it's happening, baby.
and you know who's
Um,
going to back that more than anybody? That's nobody's friend. It's the military-industrial complex. They're going to be
Of
all over
course.
that one. That's a money
Of
tree.
course, they're
Oh,
already
oh my God,
embracing
baby,
have
the
you
how
seen
fuck
how
out of it.
big? Have you seen how big the universe is?
Oh
Come on,
fuck!
there has to be a
That's
terrorist out there
that's
somewhere.
a license to steal, man. I mean, give me a
We don't
break.
need the moon. We can just mine it, or whatever. Fuck.
No, we just shoot at it for target practice
Yeah.
and blow up parts of it.
In it,
Come
look.
on. I mean, you know,
The
I
only
spent I
conceivable
spent a
purpose that a
career.
space force could serve is if we're ever visited by a malevolent
Hey,
alien
you know
force.
what?
Now, but
I'm
let's
gonna
look
be.
at that logically, though. If you
Yeah,
can
I'm gonna.
fly halfway across the galaxy in ships that can go faster than the speed of light, do you really think that this little American space force is going to be any sort of a deterrent whatsoever? It reminds me of that line in the movie where the aliens have taken over the planet, and they're telling this one American slave they made all of the humans into slaves, and they're telling this one human slave, he's like, you know how long it took us to defeat every military force on your planet? 8.5 minutes. And that's literally what it's going to be like. I mean, so that the only purpose
yeah,
that a space force could serve is to protect us from a malevolent, invasion from another solar system. And let's face it, we're toast if
uh,
that happens.
Yeah,
You know what
look,
I mean? There's
if
not,
an alien civilization shows up at our doorstep, do not point guns at them. I'm just throwing that out there. Look, I
I would not
realize I'm not
recommend
in
it. No, I mean, I'm just
charge.
saying, I would sort of just, it's kind of like the Native Americans when the white people got here. I would just give up and give them food. Hope that they're nice.
No, we should have
I
sent
mean,
that boat fucking packing. But
that did. Yeah,
yeah, look,
but what are you going
we
to?
were getting along just fine with the Vikings. Why did these assholes have to show up? Okay, look, to be
Or is an
honest,
agenda?
okay, without getting anybody in trouble, like I spent a career in the Air Force. I held a security clearance. Okay, the Air Force has space covered. All
Yeah.
right, take my
They've been
word
doing
for
that
it.
for like since like the yeah, they've been doing that for like what, like 30, 40 years now.
Yeah. I'm not going to violate international law here, but we got it sorted. Okay, we don't need just trust me on this. We don't need a space force. And the reason I'm laughing about that is because if you knew how badly we don't need one, you would be shocked.
So what? Yeah, yeah. You know what? That kind of like disturbs me because they're the Air Force like legit like they do a legit. This is like a legit job that they do. Is that they monitor all of the space projectiles that are all of the stuff that's like up in Earth that could possibly do damage. All of the satellites that are up there that could do damage on Earth. They monitor it and catalog. What happens to those people's jobs once the Space Force goes around? They're
Oh, there'd
gone.
be more junk if you're going to spend
No,
more.
no, 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 no. They fire
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah, look, they don't care. I imagine that they're going to put it out in giant like corporate contracts. Isn't that what they do? Like,
yeah, no bid. Yeah,
no bid contracts.
no bid contracts. Yeah, that's what's sole source, no bid. That's the license to steal. KBR, Halliburton. That's how you do it, man.
Yeah.
That's how you make money in America. That's good business. That's American business. You
Yeah,
can't say
just
anything
invent
bad about
something.
it.
Just
Look,
invent a boogie
look,
monster. Here we get the Space
look
Force
this.
because we got space enemies now, and so we got to go spend $10 fucking trillion
Well,
on
Trump believes
space
that they're out
planes.
there,
And,
man.
I mean, they're going to have weapons, right? I mean, how are these guys going to get up there, right? So they're going
Sure,
to have space planes. We're going to have space laser beams and space
absolutely.
suits. They got to have
Yeah,
suits that can't breathe vacuum.
it took us
So
almost a decade and $6 trillion to make the F-22. We ain't gonna be up there for a long time, but it's gonna cost us a shitload of money.
A
of
starship.
course,
Can you
exactly.
imagine how much overruns would be on that? I mean, there isn't enough money on this planet for the kind of overruns that these guys are going to run, man. They're going to
Yeah,
bankrupt you with this bullshit because that's what it is, bullshit. You're talking 25th century technology in a 21st century world, okay? It's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just this is.
Oh.
I think we lost him.
You're
He's been
sitting there with
tenuous all night. There he is.
the already the Central Command, the Air Force Central Command, Space Command. Like, you're already standing there with the people that are doing this job. Did he literally stand up and said, "We need a Space Force"? Like, that's what we're already doing. What the fuck are you talking about?
And everybody loves it, of course, because it just sounds so cool. You know
It
what I mean?
doesn't
Oh yeah.
even that,
So
man.
it's
You
like
couldn't have
Space
came up.
Troopers movie. You know what I mean? Let's
Fuck.
do it. We'll have Space Marines. I mean, everybody's just so
But that I
caught
probably
up
would
in
have went with
imagination and
space.
bullshit.
I would have went a lot more
Well,
with even the name Space Force is fucking stupid.
Space
in
Oh,
Force.
it's stupid to us, but you can see where the average person is going to go. Wow, that sounds cool.
yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean? I
huge,
mean,
man.
he's got tons of
That's
backing
big.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, of course, the military industrial complex is going to be behind it 100%. I can guarantee you that. The lobbying
Oh, of
is
course.
fierce.
You-
It's like,
just the
oh,
equipment alone.
yeah.
I mean, if you're going to stand up an entire branch, you're talking thousands of dudes who are going to need just the spacesuits. Just the
What do you
spacesuits
think
alone. You're
do you think
talking
you're gonna
about
go to your
billions
local
and billions and
recruiter
billions of dollars.
and you're gonna have some kid who's like smoking pot and be like, yeah, man, I wanna join the Space Force. It's gonna be like a company of retards up in space who don't know what they're doing.
Well, I think even your average Marine, if he was sent up there, would be just fucking fucked because I mean, you look at the astronauts that we send up now through NASA. I mean, they're vetted, and it's only like 1 in 1,000 that actually makes it through the process. I mean, they put you in a centrifuge and they fucking spin you around at like 5 fucking Gs, and you vomit your fucking head off and shit like that. And 1 in 1,000 makes it fucking through. It's such a difficult thing. I mean, space is so
Well,
fucking disorienting that
now they're commercializing space now, so I imagine they're gonna lower the bar. You know,
But
yeah,
what
but
is it?
I
What is it all for? There is no. See, this is the typical of what we do. Where is the enemy? There is no defined enemy. There are no aliens. What the hell are you talking about? What do you need a space force for? Okay,
for the space colonies, bro, when the
it's
aliens
not.
come.
Yeah, it's not. It's not just because we need one. That no, man. What is the?
well,
I'm not
actually, you
buying
might
that.
be onto something. I mean, I don't know what Trump thinks he needs it for, but I know that what it will be used for in the future. Um, we're coming very, very close to actually having. I really think that Mars One is going to take off. Elon Musk has backed it. They're starting to get billions of dollars worth of donations into what was, written off as a joke for so many years is the Mars One project. And people need to understand that Mars One, those people aren't coming back. That's the idea. It's a one-way ticket,
Yeah.
and they already have 100 people chosen to go. And all they needed was the rocket and the money. And Elon Musk has said that he doesn't believe in this. He actually thinks it's really stupid to go and not come back, but he will give them the rocket. And they already, SpaceX has been already producing the pods that they'll use for their own Mars mission that SpaceX wants to do in 2025. And they've got a good plan. They've got a solid plan where they'll send the pods in advance filled with equipment and gear and distilleries to create oxygen and fuel and stuff like that. And all this equipment works. They've tested it, and it looks like Mars One will happen by 2030. There will be permanent residence on Mars, and I think that part of what the Space Force will eventually be used for will be a police force. Because if you're on Mars, uh, why can't
Well,
you just say "fuck you, Earth"? And to hell
oh
with
no,
you.
we
We're
can't.
going to do whatever the fuck we want. We're not sending you
Yeah,
any minerals back. We're not gonna
that's
we're
right.
not gonna export the gold that we find. So then all of a sudden you end up with 200 fucking Space Force Marines landing on your fucking doorstep and taking over the colony. I think there could be an oppressive use for something like that, within a couple of decades even. Um, I don't know that that's necessarily why it's being done, but I think that if it exists, then it will be used malevolently to
Yeah.
oppress humans as they move out into the solar system, which I think is
Yeah.
absolutely
Well,
inevitable that we will move out into the solar system.
yeah, that
And
totally
like I said, these
fits. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
totally
these
fits what we do
colonies,
already.
yes, exactly. And these
You, you,
colonies, ipso facto, are sovereign colonies just by the distances involved. So like even a lunar colony would not be subject to, like, say, U.S. jurisdiction or even UN jurisdiction just simply because of the distances
it's
involved.
another
I mean,
planet.
you could not, for instance, bomb a lunar colony because it would take so long for the missiles to get there that the lunar colony could simply pick them off one by one with a halfway decent fucking 1,000 milliwatt laser beam. You know what I mean? I
Well,
mean,
that was I was
literally, it would
saying.
take so long.
Wouldn't you do something like when you attack them with laser weapons?
Well, yeah, exactly. I suppose you
well,
could. With
wait a minute.
Mars,
You know what happens when you push back and you attack them. You know they're
they
gonna have
send
to
more.
kill you. Yeah, they send
Yeah,
more, and
they send
well,
more.
they have to kill you. I mean, you're resisting them. It's just all more of this psychopathic thinking that we go
I
through.
mean, I've
Like
actually been watching
we,
a very interesting science fiction series. I wish I could remember the name of it. Maybe when you guys have been watching it too, you'll know. But it's coming up, I think, on its third season now. But it's a mainstream. I think it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. But it deals with just that. It's a very realistic series.
colony.
Where is that it? Is
I
that the
think
one?
that's the one.
And
Yeah.
where man has spread out basically throughout the entire solar system. And they don't use like faster than light or anything like that. They use very realistic shit like pulse rockets and shit like that. And it deals with the various political stresses between Earth and colonies throughout the solar system. And I think that Earth will continue to try to oppress its own even when they move out into the solar system. So I
Well,
think
I'm
in the
probably
future,
gonna
Space
show
Force.
like my my gamer side. But did anybody ever play Red Faction?
No, I didn't play it.
I mean, and that was pretty much the premise was, like an oppressive government in on Earth, pretty much using the Martian people as a mining colony, um, and their revolution against it.
I'm gonna look up.
And the complete with terrorism and the works, man. Exactly, exactly what they would like, I'm sure, to paint with the Space Force game. But if you guys, I'm sure one of our listeners had played Red Faction. I think there was three of them. It was a really really cool game. But the storyline underneath it was exactly that. That what is it going to look like when when the U.S. says, hey, you guys can't smoke on the colony, and the colonists say, no, we'd like to smoke weed. Go fuck yourself. Right? At what point does that, or you can't keep, you can't be a sanctuary planet, right? The Blargons, right, can't be there without proper paperwork. They're illegal and are part of the solar system.
Yeah, you just make it up, Terrence, just like you do on this planet. You just create boundaries that don't necessarily match any kind of geographic or river or
You
anything.
know what's crazy?
You just do it.
I heard I
And they
heard
expect this.
you can actually buy property on Mars now. like
Well,
plots of
see, and
land.
that's
Oh, really?
I'm
Wow.
already pissed off about that because you guys might not know this, but I own the solar system. You can't just give it away like that. It's mine.
And what a scam! Who owns Mars? I mean, who bought it?
I don't
What
know,
the
man.
fuck, man?
Well, there's
Like,
actually
what
a
do you
legal
do when
premise
they say
behind
they
it, and
tell you
that
this
is
is a Mars and you say you
the,
can't?
the,
I
the guy
already
that's
own
doing it.
it.
He's also doing the moon too. He's selling like acreage on the moon too, and there actually is a valid legal sort of argument that he has. If you go to the website and read it, I mean I can't quote it word for word, but it has to do with
When are the man monkeys gonna realize they don't own anything? Like this universe exists without you.
You can buy stars
Well,
too.
it's just like a soldier standing in the other guy's capital. If your Space Force soldier is standing on that planet, then it's our planet. You see how that works?
Okay.
well,
It's
there
our
is an
yeah.
American flag on the moon,
We're
so
making we're
Yeah,
making a
yeah. Just
claim. There's a reason they stuck the flag there.
Well,
Of
India's
course,
India's
it's
going there.
exactly what
India's
it
going
looks
there
like.
next year. They're going there next year. They're going to put an Indian flag up there.
Yeah, China. They sent their stuff.
I'm,
So yeah, I mean everybody's making their claim. Yeah.
it's insanity. Like just that mindset is complete and utter insanity.
Yeah. So your guy. So
well, if you think the
in order
Russians
to
do it,
defend it,
they did it in the Arctic, the new Arctic stuff that's opening up because all the ice is melting in the Arctic. The Russians send submarines out there and they drop little Russian flags off the continental shelf to lay claim to stretches
Yeah, see, if
of
we're gonna do these
the
weird
Arctic seabed.
animalistic things, I think you're at least required to pee on it, right? We'll just go by like how all the other animals on the planet do it, right?
yeah.
You only can own what you can pee on.
Look, do you want a
My dog has a
cosmonaut
very
or
my
an
I
dog
like
has a
that
very
rule.
similar
I like
policy.
that rule.
Yeah. If a
I like
cosmonaut
that.
is standing on the Mars, then the Russians own Mars. But if it's our astronaut, then it's our planet. Same thing with the moon. I
So
mean, we're
then what
not.
are we supposed to be like? Is that the like the story that, you don't want the Russians standing on the moon, do you?
Well, yeah.
No,
I mean,
oh no.
you want the commies? Yeah. Whoa.
Oh my god, space communists, what are we gonna do? They're
Mutually assured planetary destruction. See, we just step it up. It's next level. We're not
Oh
fucking
my
around with
god,
these
I
people
couldn't
anymore.
believe
We're gonna blow you guys up. Literally, we're gonna
like
blow
if
your
somebody
planet up.
came into my even as the president, if somebody came into my office and said that, I wouldn't have been able to quit laughing. If I called my like top general and I look, we got a nuclear problem, what's your idea? And he walked in and said, my idea is if they shoot off a nuke, we kill off everybody. I wouldn't be able to stop laughing long enough to kick him out of my office. Your idea is that if they attack us, we kill all of our own people. What the fuck is the matter with you? Well, if they shoot something at us, we're going to blow up our planet. Well, first of all, what if terrorists do it? Their goal is to blow up the planet. That doesn't make any. Just get out of my office. You're all fired. You're all fired. Until somebody comes up with an idea that doesn't involve everyone dying, you're all fucking fired. Oh, let me guess.
Hey,
Do you
well,
need $1
what?
million to pull that
Here
plan
we
off?
are in
You
the
We're
need $1
final
million
hour of the
to
show,
kill everybody.
approaching nuclear Armageddon.
we're not
Oh
gonna
shit!
This show really
look.
does have a trajectory that's like impossible to stop, man.
How that's exact that is our game, man. We are impossible to stop. They have
We're
tried.
Anonymous fights back, man. One-way trip to Armageddon.
No.
I'm
That
serious.
was
You
the
guys
deal.
should
It
put
should be
mushroom
anonymous
clouds on
bites
the fucking
back.
posters, man.
It should be anonymous bites back. Avoiding nuclear Armageddon every show.
We avoided it last week, but that's only because it was me and Tyler on. We were able to direct the direction away from the mushroom clouds. But
Oh
I
shit!
think we're
It's
heading
me.
that way again tonight, man.
It's me,
I
guys.
don't
You know how
how,
you'll
know.
be in a room
I
and you'll
think
be
it's
like,
all
God,
Preston's fault, actually.
how come
how,
everybody that works here is assholes? And then you realize, oh no, it's me that's the asshole. So
how are
yeah,
you?
if there was no nuclear Armageddon and I wasn't here, it's me. It's me.
Well, what are you guys gonna do when there's anons on the moon and they need to DDoS something? How are you gonna pull that off?
Well, there's like what? There's like I don't know, man.
That's
The
a
packets will be
that's a
We
long
should be
delayed.
able to
delay, man.
communicate with flashlights, right?
It'll be fast.
No,
Yeah,
you'll be able
flashlights
to
will be
send.
faster. Go ahead.
I thought it was 8 minutes
You
from the sun. It should be like pretty fucking fast.
Yeah,
Like
it's
It's
like
like a
from us,
two
it's a
second
few
delay. It's a
seconds.
2 second delay, but
Yeah.
here to
Yeah,
Mars.
Mars.
Mars is like
That's a
20
little tougher.
minutes. It's like 20 minutes or some shit.
Well, Mars varies severely because like Mars was just at its closest to Earth just
Yeah,
now,
it's a much
which is
more.
why a mission to Mars, even on a two-way trip, the way NASA wants to do it, is a really complex thing because you can only launch when the Mars is approaching its closest, its perihelion to Earth, and then you have to ride the planet all the way back around the sun again. So you have to go for an entire Martian year on the planet's surface. There's no option of coming back until you come back around again.
Well, some of this
And
problem is because we're using like conventional rocketry to try to get back and forth. Guys, that's literally
We need warp
like saying you
engines.
want to, yeah, like exactly, like you want to cross the United States on a bicycle, right? We haven't upgraded this since really the 1930s, and we're trying to cross the universe with it. And it is, and they keep on coming back to us and saying, but it's a really nice bicycle. And it doesn't matter. We're just not going to get interplanetary travel on a fucking bicycle, and that is really the equivalent.
Well, you know, there.
Shooting your strapping explosives to your back and shooting your dick into the atmosphere is not going to get you intergalactic travel.
Well, yeah, there's also dangers. You know, the technology isn't even there. Even if we had the technology to go like at partial light speed, a particle the size of a piece of sand, if that thing hits you and you're going at close to the speed of light, it'll rip you apart. You know, we don't even have
Well,
the
yeah, but
technology.
we have a very
We don't have force field technology. Like,
we could like put my look, if we're not focusing trillions of dollars on the war effort to go nowhere and the drug war and the prisons for dust, yes, we would have intergalactic travel, no doubt. These are not extremely hard issues. You look at, like, you know what I mean? Oh,
well,
we
I don't
have
know about
very
intergalactic
similar.
travel, but I think we could conquer the solar system
I think
with
we could
pulse
do it, but
rockets and
everything that humanity has put their mind to, we have done. And
oh,
unfortunately, we have
eventually. But I
spent.
mean, in our lifetime, just in the near term, I think with like
Look,
NASA just released
you
oh, we're
give me
definitely
50.
going to space. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
you give me
NASA just released an engine this week that works off positrons, and
you give me
I
15
think it's
minutes
quite
with the
interesting
NSA
rocket motor. But
supercomputer, right? And there's certain problems that we'll never have to spend money about on again. You know, diseases that we can cure immediately if we put that kind of focus on it. And then as soon as that's done, there's no limit to what we can focus on. $1 trillion into machine learning, right? And I'll be able to get us into space, no fucking problem. You know what I mean? We have so limited ourselves beyond what the potential for humanity is. It's mind blowing. We have spent no money on anything other than murdering ourselves, and we've hit the top of that. $1 trillion into actual, what, you know, like what was NASA's budgeted at its peak? Nowhere near $1 trillion, and that's what we spent on the F-22 alone. On 1 year of war, imagine what the most brilliant minds in the world would be able to do with $1 trillion. Yeah, I don't see intergalactic travel as
I
being
don't
that
know.
big of a problem if we put our mind to it. If that was our focus.
Yeah, I
interstellar,
don't.
I'll go with interstellar with you. Intergalactic is a bit much, but
All right,
I
how
mean
much does a
they're
warp
just so
drive
fast.
engine cost? A warp drive engine
Not that
costs
much,
now.
and they've proven that it works. They've proven that it works. They
Oh
have a
yeah,
warp.
it's just,
They've proven
you
that
need a
warp theory works.
shitload of power.
NASA did an experiment. There's a low power warp field generator that NASA worked on. This guy invented it. He's got an incredible story too. It's interesting.
Oh,
I mean,
like
you want to
Star
talk
Trek
about your triple.
positrons. Yeah.
No. This is a warp field. It basically, essentially, what you would do is rather than moving through space, you would
It
move
bends the
space.
space. It bends the
You would
space in
fold
front.
space.
It bends the space, closes the space in front of you, and expands the space behind you. And rather,
Exactly.
literally, you're moving throughout space because it can curve, right?
And they applied this guy's theory. NASA went ahead and did a in the laboratory experiment. You can look this up on the NASA website. NASA went ahead and tested it, and they did um, create a few millibars of pressure from this idea. And so I really think it holds out a great deal of promise. I've been studying this guy that invented the theory for a while now. He's got a pretty freakish story, though, of how he came about the theory. He was a mathematician, and he got a phone call one night in his youth And this is before he became a mathematician. He was heading in some other career track. I can't remember. He was going to be a veterinarian or a journalist or some other fucking thing. And he got a phone call in the middle of the night, and a computerized voice, a female computerized voice, sort of like what we use in the anonymous videos, told him that he had to get into mathematics and that he was going to change the world. And I'm not even joking about this. And this guy went ahead and went into mathematics, invented this theory eventually, which NASA has now picked up and proven actually does work. You can bend space at low power, not with enormous amounts of power. So I think there is actually hope there. In fact, NASA went ahead and just for shits and giggles, they actually invented the prototype of the first warp ship. You can see this beautiful photograph that they have on the NASA site of what they hope the first warp ship will look like. And of course, it's completely fantasy, but it's interesting that NASA, a usually very cold, hard scientific organization, has picked this theory
Oh,
up.
it looks like a
And
Vulcan ship.
yeah, and this week
Well,
this
everything they
week they
gave you.
released this week they released the plans NASA did for a positron engine, which they've also done some testing on, and is much more probably closer in time to being realized because it will deal with mechanics that we're already super familiar with and everything. But they released the idea for a positron rocket that they say will definitely revolutionize at least the solar system exploration. That it can reach, I think, 0.03 the speed of light, which is still
Awesome.
pretty enormous amounts of speed. That's pretty enormous amount of speed for a rocket that still requires fuel, but it requires very little fuel, and it's fuel that they can gather out in space. I can't remember what the isotope is that it runs off of, but a few grams of this shit can actually boost the rocket up to quite high speeds. And so it's quite interesting how NASA has really spent a lot of money and a lot of energy. But you're right though in the fact that they're able to envision these things. They're able to get the math to work. They're able to get the plans on paper to work, and even in small prototypes get them to work. But they don't have the money to actually build this ship because, as you said, we're too busy murdering each other with trillions of dollars to spend a few $1 billion even on, a decent rocket engine. So
Yeah.
And
it does
I mean,
kind of
has
suck.
anybody just walked in and, like, that has like a really tight family member or something that we can have run all of these projects through? Where, like, I know when they come in and say, look, boss, it's going to cost $1 trillion, like, nobody says, all right, how about like 800 billion? Can you do it for 800 billion? Like, are they even trying, or they just accept these like hypes right away?
Well, that's what Elon Musk came in
I
and
think,
Yeah. It's,
yeah, he came
yeah,
in and
but
said I could
Elon
just
Musk
have.
is
Can
just
we?
an evil fuck. I think that eventually you will have an Elon Musk that, I think eventually you will have an Elon Musk that comes along that's actually a good guy. I mean, I can't see that every billionaire in the world can be just an absolute total fucking loser. So eventually, I think you will have somebody with the moxie, the guts, the willingness to spend vast parts of his fortune. I think that private people will be the ones that get this going. But it still is very annoying that that's our money they're spending on killing us. And we would rather, I think a great many of us would rather they be spending it on cool shit like, expanding humanity out into the solar system. I think Hawking's, Stephen Hawking's has made it very, very clear that Dr. Hawkins has that if we don't do that, we're fucking doomed. And I mean, here's the smartest man on the planet. Hands down, everybody
yeah.
agrees. This guy is the smartest human being on the fucking planet. And he has flat out told us that if we don't do this, if we don't move out into the solar system, we're all completely fucked. And, so I don't know. I think that that's what makes me so vehement a peace advocate and an anti-war advocate
Yeah,
is the resource that we waste.
they say if we don't travel to like a second planet, the chance is very large that we're going to be like killed by a meteorite. And if they're on a second planet, then we can at least make sure the human race survives.
Yeah.
That's like why they're.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I say it's weird that we can envision something like that, and it's like if we don't do that, we won't survive. While at the same time, look at what we do here on this planet. We're not doing anything smart to get to that point. That's my problem. I just don't see where you're
AI,
going
I
to
think
bridge
AI
this
is the
gap.
one.
You know,
I think AI is the one thing that we're doing right. One of the I've been in AI now uh, on an amateur level. I'll admit I'm not like, but as a computer scientist, I've been messing around in an amateur sort of way with artificial intelligence since 2000, and I've done some incredible experiments, written a few white papers on it, and done some incredible experiments just with the computer hardware that I can get my hands on. And I think that going forward, one of the things that's exciting about AI is medical diagnostics. I think that we will see a time within the next, say, I'd say about 20 years, where medicine as we know it will disappear.
Yeah.
Um, what will happen is you'll go into a medical facility and they will scan you with a very high resolution sort of CAT scan type of situation. And then an AI will invent on the spot, will invent a unique chemical made out of proteins and stuff like that that is absolutely unique to your situation that will literally cure everything in you all at once, from cancer to acne. And it will be not good. Anybody else who takes it would get sick and die. It will be literally a medicine created on the spot in seconds just for you. And we're honest to God. If they don't try to shut it down, we're not even maybe 2 decades away from that kind of powerful AI. From the very beginning, when I got involved, I always was telling people it's all about the neural nets. And for years, people thought that those of us who advocated for neural nets were crazy because that they said that's just it's too computationally intensive to imitate human neurons with code, yada yada yada. And then all of a sudden, computers got very powerful. All of a sudden, laptops became supercomputers, and all of a sudden neural nets became the big thing. And in 2015, that really started to break into mainstream, and now people, all of a sudden, everybody's a believer from Google on down into neural nets. And I've always known that neural nets were where it's at. And what's also intriguing about that for me is not just the idea of what AI can do for us, but the idea of what is consciousness and what causes consciousness. And I believe that consciousness is caused by recursive information, which is information that is modifying itself based on input from its environment. And a neural net is that. A neural net is recursive information that is modifying itself based on input from its environment. And I believe that that is what generates consciousness. That's why we are conscious, because our brain does that one simple task. It's not rocket science. It's not spiritual. It's not this big thing that we can't understand. It's simply recursive information, and that's really all consciousness is. And a worm in the ground is conscious on a much lesser level than we are, but it's conscious because it has that same thing going on. It has 800 neurons in its little worm brain that are recursing information based on input from the dirt or whatever around it. And so, to me, that's also intriguing. That zeros and ones code can be made conscious, even if it's in a very primitive way, maybe not on the same level that we are, but to even create a robot that is as conscious as an ant, to me, is a miracle. To me, that's fascinating that we can make a machine that is literally, in every sense of the word, alive. Um, so I think AI is really the future on a lot of different levels. I think it's going to teach us a lot about ourselves, but I also think it's going to be able to solve some really intractable problems like healthcare, um, stuff like productivity. For instance, if everything could be produced for virtually free by AI, what would be the need anymore for things like, say, money? People want a moneyless society. People want everything to be free. Well, that could actually be possible if the machines are doing all the work. So I think AI is the one thing that I see where it's cheap, first of all, to do AI. It's not like rocketry. It's not like what we've been talking about with space exploration, where we need the machines. The machines need to be big and expensive. AI, I can do it right here in fact, I do. I experiment with AI. I've got a half a dozen different experiments with artificial intelligence running around me right now on computers around me. They're just on my own amateurish level, but I mean, it's AI can be done with next to nothing because it's really all about the code. So that's the one thing I think we're doing right as a right
Okay, I guess we were right about the censorship thing with the Alex Jones, because I just read that now Facebook deleted a huge Venezuelan news website, which was actually kind of a leftist website, page on Facebook, and they're like raging about it.
Who did they delete now?
They killed a huge newspaper page from Facebook from Venezuela.
Oh,
That's crazy.
Yeah, and there was actually like a left-leaning page. So, yeah, they're using the Alex Jones thing now to censor more stuff. I'm just reading
sure,
it.
if they can get away.
It never stops. Like
Yeah,
there's
see,
never.
yeah, they got used to doing it to us, little people, then bigger groups. I mean, now you can get away with an Alex Jones, and the government doesn't do anything. Hey, the sky's the limit for them now. They can do anything they want right now. They've proven it to themselves that they can do that, and there's no consequences.
Yep.
So it's a newspaper, and it has been around since 2003. VenezuelanAnalysis.com. Well, Facebook wasn't there in 2003, but the website itself is from 2003. Yeah, and they're deleted, like entirely gone. It was just a newspaper.
And what's the basis? See, there doesn't even have to be a reason, right? Is there any outrage? Did anybody even complain? We just say, oh, what's this? Oh, well, let's shut this guy down. Let's just flip a coin. And, oh, yeah, heads. Oh, well, we're shutting you down. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just a sick game.
They did speak out about it. They said, Facebook has shut down our page in a flagrant act of political censorship. Coincidental that we were unpublished after we posted a brilliant piece demolishing the mainstream media's appalling coverage of the assassination attempt against Maduro. Please RT to demand our page to be restored.
Yeah,
So
that's right. He was there was an assassination attempt with the fucking drone.
Well, that was their story. That one is shady. You know, I mean, that was.
I don't think so. I think that was inevitable. I really don't see how people didn't see that coming. I mean, I saw a drone the other day being advertised because I do a lot of AI work. They push a lot of these fucking advertisements to me, and they were advertising right on just, I don't know, it was like some YouTube page or something. An advertisement popped up for a drone that can fertilize crops, and it had this big tank underneath it. Well, how hard would it be to put a couple of kilos of C4 in that fucking tank and a detonator and send that thing flying? And I just don't see how they didn't fucking see that one coming. I mean, it's like that one's just too obvious. I mean, you could do that with the lowest budget possible. And these drones are so quiet, so small. It's so easy to get one close to almost anybody. I mean,
but who did it? I mean, our drones don't miss. I mean, if we wanted him, he would have been dead. So who did this?
Oh, I don't think it was us. I think he's got enough opposition in his own country.
Yeah, his own army went against.
Regardless of the politics of whether you're on his side, I've got anons who come to me and say they're on Maduro's side, that they want him to remain in power. There's anons that don't. It seems that the people that want him out outnumber the people that want him in, but it does seem like there's some disagreement there in Venezuela. But this guy, just the police repression of the protests alone is enough to have, 1 million people want him dead. And like I said, out of those 1 million people, how many does it take to figure out to take a drone and strap a bomb to it and fly it into one of his speeches? I mean, it's not even rocket science. It's just almost,
except that it hit a building behind him and like 3 stories up. It's like,
that's because the Maduro government was smart enough that one of the things that presidential security details around the world have become smart enough to do is they have frequency jammers around the president to jam those frequencies that are used for the remote control. So,
but as well
basically
as
they all went out of control.
But as well as I do that programming a drone to run a designated course without any input from a remote control is easy. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's easy, but I guess these folks just didn't think of that. And maybe they were hoping that it would just fly fast enough and hard enough that by the time it got into that bubble, one of them does seem like it got pretty close, like it actually got into the stadium and detonated, right over them. So, yeah, okay. So there's a learning curve involved. The first time you try it, maybe you don't have it quite right. But I just think that the whole attack itself was inevitable. It was done on the cheap. Doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's that expensive an attack. And the dude has plenty of enemies that are domestic right in his own country. And even within Latin America, like he tried to blame it on the Colombian government. Well, you know what? That's entirely possible. The Colombian government is a known fact, hates the fucking Venezuelan,
Uh,
the Bolivar revolution government there that goes all the way back to Chavez. And so, the Colombian government has long been an enemy of that government in Venezuela. So it's entirely possible that Maduro's right, and that it was, agents of the Colombian government that caused it. They would certainly have the resources for such an attack. So, I don't know. I don't. I'm a big believer in Occam's razor, man. I'm not going to jump to a conspiracy theory when I can explain it with somebody just being pissed off. You know what I mean? And this guy's got, like I said, he's got endless people lined up to be pissed off at him. So
He is also known for planning these false flag attacks on himself too. He did this in the past a few times. There's
Oh.
yeah,
one
well,
time there was an assassination attempt supposedly by some helicopter, and this helicopter it was like literally flown by an actor who played a helicopter pilot in a famous Venezuelan movie. Literally.
uh,
We
Yeah,
need
really. It's
political.
like
um,
We need political actors. I'm an actor.
I don't know. He looked pretty scared. I've seen the videos of the one that actually made it in the stadium blew up, and he looked genuinely concerned. The security services looked genuinely concerned, and several soldiers around him were actually injured. That's how close it got. That the shrapnel actually,
yeah.
they broke out the shrapnel blankets. You can see where his little detail, broke out what they call the shrapnel blankets, and surrounded him with those. And I don't know. It seemed pretty genuine, and I think it was a genuine attempt on his life. And like I said, the dude's been racking up enemies like crazy since the day he took office, and mowing down his own people, which is a guaranteed way that somebody's going to try to kill you. I mean,
That'll do it
if
every
you mow
time.
down enough of your own people, eventually, one of them's going to say, I mean, look at all the attempts there have been on Assad's life. Maybe some of them were false flags planned by the Assad regime to try to gain sympathy, maybe from Russia or whatever. But you got to know that a lot of those assassination attempts were genuine too. I mean, the dude's fucking hated in his own country. Anybody who's a leader of a country who spends all his time trying to kill his own people is gonna, eventually somebody's gonna try to bring an end to that. So, I don't know. I don't think there's all that much to it other than I think it's a wake up call that drone warfare is here, and those of us who don't have the luxury of having a Secret Service detail with drone radio deflectors and all that other high tech shit to keep us safe, it's not going to be hard, say, to take out a journalist or a political leader or a publisher, say like Julian Assange. How hard would it be, when he walks out of that embassy to fly a drone up to him and detonate it? There
Well,
you
and
go. End of
anybody
Julian.
will tell
End
you
of Julian.
that the most dangerous part of an assassination is the assassin. That's who gets caught. That's who they push for information. That's who ends up that's where the story ends up coming out. With these drones, there is no assassin. Once it's exploded, that's it. It can be very hard to trace who, where, why, and when it came from. It's something. Yeah, you're correct in that we're going to see a lot more of it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not the hard targets that worry me. The heads of state have been aware of this for a while, and apparently the Venezuelan government is very sophisticated, and as I'm sure a lot of the Western governments are at being able to control the radio space, so to speak, around them for these remote control drones. But you're right about one thing: a radio hardened drone with pre-programming, with AI, for instance, able to carry out the mission on its own would be a danger even in that scope. But I think that would take more than just a few rebels to put something like that together. Maybe me and you could do it, but me and you are extraordinary individuals. I mean, we're computer scientists who are very brilliant at what we do. I mean, so maybe we could cobble it together, but you do have to understand that there people like me and you are not everywhere in the world. There's we may seem normal to ourselves, but we're not actually in the world. There's not a lot of people smart enough to put something like that together. It will happen eventually, but my concern is the soft targets. Like I said, people like a great example, Julian Assange. I mean,
Yeah.
how hard would it be to fly up to him with a drone? He doesn't have those kind of resources to control the radio space around him. So it would be very, very easy to take him out, and you could use a very small drone because you could be very close to him and do that. So my concern is not the hard targets, but the soft targets. The quelling of dissent is reaching new and crazier levels. I actually am living with a person who had an assassination attempt on her life because of her political beliefs, because of her political reasons. And so that's and then like I said, when I saw Susie Dawson's story, which really paralleled her story exactly, I was like, wow, this is really happening. They're out there trying to kill people. The U.S. government out there trying to kill people, simply because of politics. And so right now it's very crude. Just using automobiles to run people off the road and shit like that. But and laser dazzlers. But how long will it be before they adopt this sort of assassin technology? And it's kind of scary. A drone coming after you. They're really quiet. I mean, they can come right up to you, man, and fucking take you out. Um, I don't know. I think we're living in a terrifying world when it comes to violence. I mean, the ability to do violence with high technology, and these are things that technology that's available to anyone. You could go into Walmart and buy a fucking pretty nice drone that could accomplish the mission. So it's a fucking pretty scary world we live in.
Yeah, I agree. It's a double-edged sword, understanding technology. You can see the great uses that it can have, but at the same time, you realize what it's most likely going to be used for.
Exactly, exactly, and so much potential is lost in all this too, because you talk about money and investing in the right things. I have a plan that I've been working on for quite some time now, several years. I want to build this. I'm actually designing it. I hopefully can build it with a 3D printer, but I want to build a design for a robot that any farmer in the world can download. And these robots, you will just release them. They'll be very tiny, and you release them by the hundreds, and they just go out onto your property and they find any piece of arable land and they cultivate it. And they have the seeds already packed inside of them. They have the fertilizer. They have the digger tools to aerate the earth. And
Oh yeah, John Deere's.
trying to make a farm, where you have to say, like, you have to clear cut this square, you know what I mean, the way it's done now, and these things will go out and they might just cultivate 10 square feet because that's all they can find. And then it's another 10 square feet. And it won't be shaped like a square. It'll be shaped like however the robot thinks is the smartest way to do it, based on where it finds the spot. So you end up instead with this land that's cultivated all over the place, just in every little nook and cranny. And and these little robots would be able to be printed on a 3D printer. So anybody, make it open source, and then any farmer in the world could download these little robots, set them loose by the hundreds on his property, and just all he's going to do is fill them with seeds and chemicals, and they would go out and do all the work for him to get a farm going. And I don't know, I really like the idea. I've got it to the point where I've actually got actual CAD drawings and designs for how to, but I just can't even build a prototype to even test, because I have no money. Nobody will give me any money. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if somebody gave me even $10,000, I could make it a reality, and then we'd have something that would be useful to every farmer in the world and would revolutionize agriculture, because it's like I said, instead of having to create these squares where you just have to clear cut everything and you have to remove all the rocks and all the shit, these would go out and make use of just whatever. They would have AI inside of them, and they would be able to judge, well, I can make a little 5 square by 5 square plot right here, and I don't have to move the rocks because I can't move the rocks and I can't move the trees, but I can, it would make that decision for itself, and then it would cultivate it, get all the little plants going, and
Tyler,
and so you'd
Yeah.
end up with a
what was
much more
that?
hollow.
What do you mean?
You were trying to say something.
Oh, yeah, no. John Deere has been working on this kind of. I knew one of the programmers. They've been working on this kind of stuff for a while.
Yeah, but then again, John Deere's going to sell it to you for thousands and
Yeah,
thousands of dollars. What I want
yeah.
to do is make something that's 3D printable so that you can ship it all over the world over the internet, and then farmers all over the world could just download this program and build them themselves. I don't want it to cost anybody money. I'm more thinking of third world farmers and shit like that rather than first world agro corporations. And fuck them. They've already got theirs. They're making billions of dollars and cultivating the land their way. I would like to make this available to rural farmers in third world countries. And so that's kind of my plan. Like I said, I've got some pretty serious CAD drawings and some of the electronics and the coding worked out. But in order to take it a step further, I would need somebody to, give me a chunk of change for a 3D printer and actually build some prototypes and test it out. And, it just goes to the distribution of wealth in the world. Who gets the grants and who gets the resources. John Deere has the resources. I don't.
You can always sell it to them.
No, fuck that.
Put that little
I want to
bit.
give.
Put that little bit of the code in there so that after you sell it to them and have them put up the machines, it just starts like printing them off without their knowing.
Well, that's what I like about the MakerBot. When you talk about the maker culture, my favorite 3D printer that I want to get desperately, they're about $4,000, but I want one so bad. It's the MakerBot. And I love the MakerBot's philosophy because it only comes preloaded with one 3D file, and that's the file to make another MakerBot. So you buy one, and then you can just make all you want and give these 3D printers away or sell them or whatever. But I just think that's brilliant that the MakerBot comes loaded with a file to make another MakerBot. How cool is that? So that's actually the first 3D printer I'd like to buy. It's about 4,000. And I also want to make some 3D guns. I think that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, you want to get if you're gonna make a 3D gun, you want to get the electric, the metal mill, not the plastic ones.
Well, you can also get, there's a couple ways you can go with that. You can get the plastic ones and then you just replace the barrels after a couple of shots. Or you can also get the plastic one and then use a metal insert. Like they sell metal inserts now that you can insert the metal parts into the gun after you print it. So there's a couple of ways around that. The metal ones are really expensive.
Yeah.
You're talking like closer to 10 grand.
Yep.
Whereas you can make the guns on a plastic one just by altering the designs a little bit. And like I said, using disposable barrels. For my purposes, it's for self-defense. I only need 1 or 2 shots. I'm not going to get more than that anyway. So, I'm in Mexico. It's a dangerous place. You know what I mean?
Surface to air version.
He wants to build a fucking missile, man.
Yeah, I want the good shit, man.
I hear you.
You're defending against the drones.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a smart thing. I mean, that's the biggest threat right now, I think. So yeah.
Everybody
think so.
thinks the drones are the enemy. It's funny.
I think with just a couple of really high-powered magnets around where you want to make sure that the drones don't hit and turn those bad boys on.
You can make a backpack-sized EMP gun that'll take out a fucking drone.
Yeah, that was my plan.
I mean, you might destroy more than just a drone. If they're powerful enough, they might go in every direction. But
no, they will. But that's fine. I'd like to have that low sub sound when I do it too. I'd like a boom sound so I can, and just everything in a couple block.
No, I want the Star Trek phaser sound, man. I can't even. I'm not even going to attempt to reproduce it with my mouth, but I want that Star Trek phaser sound. Like, yeah. The old Star Trek, not the new Star Trek. Like the old 70s Star Trek had a cool phaser sound. That was the coolest phaser sound in the world, man.
Yeah, that was like that was
Well,
a nice.
we're not very popular tonight. I don't know about you guys, but I've been gaining and losing listeners all night long. Like I'm sitting here watching the listener board, and like 4 or 5 people will climb on, and then boom, they're gone in 10 minutes. I guess we're
Oh, we're not
that
keeping
entertaining tonight.
their
Yeah,
attention enough. I don't know. It depends on the night and the conversation. Like I think a lot of people will, listen for 5-10 minutes and then they go back on with what they're doing and then listen to it again.
I
I've
mean,
never.
here lately, we've just been glad to have a listener.
Oh
Not,
no,
not,
it looks like
not.
all of our listeners are on YouTube today.
Yeah, we're doing great on YouTube today, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
to the QAnon followers.
Yeah, it's just I've never figured it out. Like a long broadcast, a short broadcast. There's just there's no winning, and we've got such a diverse group and a diverse amount of information that we talk about. I think we go in and out of things that people give a shit about and don't give a shit about.
You might have a point there. Yeah, that's true. Goes in waves. It is a long show. I've never been on a 4-hour radio show. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, but at first I was all like, oh my god, the first 10, 20 shows that I was on. I just thought it was too long, and now the 4-hour show. It's part of our thing. Like we are the only people that do a 4-hour show. But if you want to know how shit actually works, it's going to take longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are
Yeah,
actually
that's-
filling it up, and we are actually giving a lot of info about every subject. It's very
I
different.
like it. I was so tickled that you guys asked me. And by the way, you guys made a mistake on the tweet. You said I was a guest. Remember, I told you I'm part of the panel now.
I'm in here.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be special, man. I just want to be part
40
of the crew.
episodes in, he's still a guest.
No. I mean, if I'm doing something special, like on my book drop on November 5th, and you want to have me on and interview me about that shit, I just want to be part of the crew. I think this is the best crew in radio. I mean, this is a great show. And I've
What
been
if we
doing
say
radio since
special
the
guest
80s,
and
so
we get more
I think
listeners?
yeah.
He's been
Well,
a
I
special
know,
guest 40
I know, but
episodes.
I get what you're doing, but then I feel like I'm a whore. You know what I mean? Shit. Just whoring off my fame fagging or whatever. I just want to carry my weight. I think this is a great crew. Plus, I would miss Preston terribly, man. I got to be on every week to get my Preston fix, man.
Well, you know what I mean with not to toot our own horns, but when it comes to Preston specifically, I really do. He exemplifies what I see a real Republican being, like a real an actual conservative, and not this fucking psychopath shit that's going on. Someone that actually believes in our Constitution. And you'll talk to people, and it's all like, what exactly is conservative about what you're saying? What exactly does that have to do with the Constitution? There's all sorts of, and I really dig that about him. That was one of my draws to the show. Me and Tyler had been talking about it. I'd been on as a guest a couple of times, but it the dynamic of what we have going on here is nowhere else on online, offline, on radio, on social media. Nobody actually lays it out like we do.
Remember when I was
They hate
broadcasting
us.
from my
They-
car?
I
hate
agree with
us
you
for
now.
this.
Preston's still on the air, so I mean we're talking about him like a third person. But I mean, I agree. I agree with your analysis, and it's pretty deep and heavy. But for me, Preston's just a great guy, and I can totally picture going out and having a beer with him and just having a blast. You know what I mean? Just sitting there all night long talking fucking shit and getting drunk. And I don't know. He just seems like a fucking great guy, man. I mean, I don't know.
I do miss
know what to
Micro
say.
tonight. Where is he?
I think he fell
That's
asleep.
school.
School, he said. He
It's
told me in the chat.
in
he's in
school.
Yeah, he couldn't be in.
He's at school now.
He's learning.
Okay, well, I missed him. I expected him anyway.
Hey, that was his story, man. Let's just go along.
Yeah.
It's like 3 o'clock
We don't
in
want
the
to blow
morning
his
going
cover
to
because
school.
It's all good. It's all good.
Don't beat him up
he
for
could
it.
be out. He could be out drinking and whoring, so we don't want to give it away. You know?
Oh, I sure hope so. That was a good
He won't.
time.
Yeah.
His parents won't send the tuition money this month if we. You know what I mean? So, we blow his cover.
Hey, we got 12 minutes left, I think. Do we have anything left?
We
need
actually
to
have 8
mention
minutes left.
Yeah, 8 minutes left.
8.
8.
It's the final
Who else can we offend?
countdown. Do we have a list? Do we have a list?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
all the
do.
Q people,
Well,
all the
Uh,
Q people, Preston, all the Q people hate us, and all the people who are fighting Q hate us. I mean, we have literally offended both sides of everything tonight. I mean,
Yeah,
literally.
that's what I like to
I
hear.
had I had one I had a
that's what we
dumb
wanted.
dumb thing that
We
happened, but
leave
Yeah.
nobody out, man.
so Melania Trump got her parents. They basically got the presidential treatment, and the way that she had gotten the visas for her parents from Slovenia. Um, I don't know. Basically, anything that she did was completely against what President Trump's. Um,
Oh, his immigration policy?
yes. It was kind of a
Uh,
sham how her parents got their. They were in this country legally with their green cards, but all of a sudden they just got their citizenship. Like
They
well,
yeah,
probably got what is that called?
it's presidential. It's
well,
a
no,
Money. You got
she's
fucking
the
money.
she's the anchor gold digger that got him in.
Yeah, but she's professional. Like, give her credit. When it comes to gold digging, right? She's dug as far as you can dig. Right?
I'm
She's like, you got
I'm
a
just
gold. Is a
I'm
gold
not
digger. You
against.
got a
Yeah,
gold toilet. That is as good as it gets.
you're misreading where I'm coming from. I mean, she's a gold digger. I'm not. That's not a. That, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, everybody's got their thing. It's just that let's face it. If you're a gold digger, you're a gold digger. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is.
I think she's
But
the
that's
most
I'll
okay.
go
competent
dig,
part of
man.
the
I'll go dig.
Trump cabinet at this very
I'm
moment.
good. Find me a
Yeah.
dipshit that's into it, man, who's got $1 billion. I'll be all about gold digging.
I
Look,
mean,
she's a gold digger. She's literally the only person that's qualified to do her job in the White House.
yeah, did a good job. I mean, that's all right. I'm jealous. God damn it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Happened to sneak my way into this house. I've been told I'm an okay lay. Like, if there's somebody with some money out there that, you know what I mean. I don't think, am I silver digger? What is that called? When you're a dude
I'll
that
be a
like
copper digger. I'm
yeah,
good. I mean, I'm living off ramens here, man. I'm serious. Brass. I don't care.
I'm doing
Brass
for a
digger,
good
man.
lunch at this point.
I mean, brass looks like gold. Yes, exactly. Take me out for a steak dinner, man. I'm all yours.
God, damn cheap bluesies, man. That's all we're talking about here. Not
I've
even
been
gold
I've
digging.
been accused for years of taking Soros money. Now I'm getting accused of taking Russian money. Do these guys need my address?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I
I
mean,
could give you
I'm
my
all
bank
about some
account.
Soros money, man. Shoot some
We
of that
take
shit at me, man.
we take Bitcoin,
Fuck.
right? We take cash, credit. If you just want to give us like gifts, I know you guys like to give away boats and planes and shit, right? Fuck, man, just drop it off. I'm here. I'm here for you.
I'm good. I'm good. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with him. I like that. Yes. Me too. Whatever you got, man. We'll take it. Fuck me.
Guys, you can't say that stuff on air.
speaking of
We
which,
can't say
All
what.
these
Why?
we only have
Why? Is
three and
the
a half
FCC
minutes,
going to
bro.
shut us down? Is Facebook going
we
to
got like
throw us
all
off?
these. We got all these
I
cues
mean, we
listening. We
can't
did
be any
fine
worse than
before
Alex
us.
Jones, right? Fuck, might as
Oh,
well.
come on, guys. On our live stream, you know damn well I'm going to take that money and fuck them over with it.
3 minutes, guys.
Let's see.
3 minutes. Oh my God.
Somebody shoot a Bitcoin address out there quick, man. They might take us seriously.
I've given it a go, especially when the Bitcoin
We're gonna get Mark
numbers
so mad at us.
when they went off and like when they really went up and we were really struggling in Puerto Rico to get the solar generators down there. And I was like, look, man, out of the millions that you guys just made, like give us a couple of Bitcoins here or there and we can do some great things with it. Right? You can still have your house and your big TVs and your cars and all of that, but throw us a freaking bone here. And no love. They got all
Yeah,
that money and they got greedy as fuck.
they gave you the bone all right, Terrence. You know that. You know what that feels like.
Oh, that's the deal. I'm getting fucked with no reach around. Like I'm not even getting any.
And then Uncle Sam, well, his is red, white, and blue. That's a little different, but it's the same.
It's patriotic boning,
Yeah.
which is totally different. That you get to take with a smile.
You better have a smile on your face, or else.
Oh.
God.
Did we add the? I know I ask every time. Did we add this song to the end of our show?
Space Force?
Oh no, we need to add the space. I'll come up with a Space Force.
No, I
song.
got. Remember, I got the one. I got it's the Space Force theme song with President Trump singing it with a bunch of
You
lapstone
guys
voices.
cut off.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, just thought to let you know. I'm watching the stream on the board here.
Oh,
we get
fuck.
past our 8-minute window.
Yeah, we did. Somehow.
Oh my
Ah,
god.
damn, Tyler, what's going on over there, man?
Let me do the outro. We'll be back next week at the same time. God, I'm falling asleep. Same time.
Same bat time.
Same
bat
bad time.
station.
Same bad station. There you go.
Dun 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 dun.
Bye, everybody.
I declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
No, it is fine. These people were actually nice to us in the chat on YouTube. All these Q people were nice. And we get 0 negative votes.
I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.